It's back to school.
Hey everyone, Tommy and Khan here. Hope you're having a wonderful Friday afternoon. We have a lot of news to get to. In fact, we're going to go straight to Roseburg, Oregon, because I believe Douglas County Sheriff's Office giving us another update on that tragic shooting that took place yesterday. Anyone who has been with us during the morning edition of News Now, or tuned in yesterday to News Now, or has been on the internet, really, on Twitter, on Facebook, it's all over. Really tragic shooting at Umpqua Community College in Roseburg, Oregon, where a 26-year-old man walked into a classroom, opened fire, killing 9, wounding 7 others. A very tragic story, and we've been getting updates throughout the day. We heard from the governor, we heard from the sheriff earlier. It looks like we're going to hear from the sheriff's office again. We're getting this live feed in right now. This is the podium where the sheriff will speak momentarily. We are awaiting another press briefing. I know people have a lot of questions. We've been learning new information. We know the gunman's identity. We know that he apparently had at least 13 guns. They found 6 on campus, 7 at the gunman's apartment. The gunman lived with his mother at that apartment. According to neighbors there, his mother was sobbing all day yesterday uncontrollably. Obviously, difficult news to receive about your very own child. All right, guys, while we wait for this press conference to start, I'm going to go ahead and play some clips that were sent to us from Fox National in the meantime in the upper right-hand corner so that you can hear from witnesses and hear the latest information.
I parked right in front of Snyder Hall, so this would be Snyder Hall, and then I parked like on the very right of it, and on the very right it's like all open windows, so I could see directly in, and I saw him shooting. But I know they're doing construction like close by, so I didn't really think anything of it. I didn't think there was a shooting. I didn't get any phone calls or messages saying that there was a shooting going on, so I just assumed it was construction. And then I saw his gun, and then I was like, okay, this escalated. And he probably shot like 20 times by like just the couple minutes I was there. And when I was there, he was like shaking his head, and then he was pointing like the gun, like he was doing this, and he was like pointing the gun, and then it looked like he was kind of psycho. He was like shaking his head, and he didn't really know how to like control his emotions. I feel like he was screaming, and I was seeing him walking back and forth in the classroom, and he was shooting the ground, and I think he was shooting people when he was shooting the ground. And I was probably watching him for 4-5 minutes, and then he looked over at me because I pulled out my phone. I was going to take a picture, and when I pulled out my phone, he saw me, and he pointed the gun like right at me, like on my truck, and it startled me, and he paused for a few moments, and then he stopped, and then he continued to shoot the ground. And after he was shooting the ground, I was backing up to leave, and I saw him walk out of I saw him like going outside. He was by the door, and then when I was pulling out onto the road, he was outside of the building. In the beginning, I was really upset. I just couldn't believe that this could happen. Like, he was shooting at my friend. He didn't shoot my friend, but he was shooting at her, and we were both really upset, because how could this happen in Roseburg, Oregon? Out of all places, Roseburg, Oregon, it's the smallest town. There's good people here.
Well, I was in a building a couple hundred yards from where it was, easily in sight. I was in a tutoring center with about 20-plus students. We were all studying that day with the teacher's room in the back, and it was all calm until my teacher, Mike Mateo, had ran into the room at the top of his lungs, yelling to get down and get into the back room and hide and stay quiet. After about sitting and hiding in the back room for about 15 minutes to an hour, we finally emerged when a state patrol officer came out and told us it was okay for a bag check. And we looked out, and it was the most quiet and peaceful and freakishly ghost-like campus there ever was. We had been sitting in the room for about 15 minutes, and then other students started getting on their smartphones and looking up, and showed that there was a gunman on campus, reported shooting, and people had been shot. And I started getting a lot more worried, and seeing that was a lot more serious than anything I had ever been through or thought. And started looking around. After that, I was just trying to comfort those around me, make sure that they weren't going to panic or extremely just freak out. Well, it's just as many years as I had known and been there, it's just been a completely free and, violence-free and happy campus. And it's beautiful there, and there's not been any loud noises even, and it's just been all peaceful. And everybody there gets along, and friendships, and everybody gets along with their teachers, and it's just extremely surprising anything like this happened anywhere near there.
We heard a loud bang in the classroom next door. We weren't sure what was going on. We thought maybe a fight broke out. There was some loud, talking going on in the room next to us. So, our teacher went like she wasn't sure if she should knock or not. And when she went to go knock on the door that joined the two classrooms, there were 3 more loud bangs, 3 or 4, and we all recognized that those were gunshots, and of course we all ran out of the classroom.
I heard the shots, but I didn't know what they were at first. I just thought maybe it was construction work with the new building going up next door. And then a student from the class next door that was in class came out and said, "You guys should come in, there's a active shooter report going on."
Some of the video playing now is just video from the scene yesterday. That sign says offering rides home, obviously. It was a very tragic day yesterday. Many students shaken up. Let's hear from another witness.
So today I just walked into class. It was kind of like an off day for some reason. I just didn't know why it felt weird. And so it was only about 20 minutes into class, and I heard like a loud bang, and I was like, that's kind of weird. So I looked over, and there was no textbook. I thought maybe it'd be a textbook on the floor or a table or desk ramming into a wall, but it was kind of loud, so it was like, what is going on? So then I looked out the window, and there was a couple girls running, like sprinting away from the building, and then I hear screaming after that first gunshot. And then I looked out and I saw the people running, and I said to the teacher, we need to get out of here right now. And then we heard the second and third gunshots, and she had opened the door, and before I knew it, I was already at the student center because I booked it over there. And I stayed in the financial aid area for the lockdown and stayed there until we were told that we could come out of that spot, but we had to stay in the building that we were in. We couldn't leave the building at all. I don't know what to feel right now. I'm terrified. I'm stressed out about it. I was so excited to start college here, and it was going great for the first couple days, and then this happens, and it's just like I don't want to go back there for a long time, but I don't know how to feel about this right now. It's so scary. Yeah, there's a friend of ours, her son goes to the school, and she hasn't been able to contact him at all. He hasn't contacted her, so we're still trying to find him for them, because they're 2 hours away. They're near Medford, so they wouldn't be able to get here quick enough. So we're trying to find him for them and let them know what's going on. We've all joined up together. It was a very awful time for everyone, so we were all able to cope with each other, and some people still are kind of not knowing what's going on. Lots of people are in tears. I mean, I was for a long time. Some people are just, they don't know what to think, and they're just kind of, like a lot of people have anxiety about it.
Well, at first I heard it sound like fireworks, and then I kept seeing police officer after police officer going down the road with sirens, and I was thinking, they kept coming and kept coming, and I was thinking, what is going on? So I walked up on the road and walked up to the college and talked to people there, and they kept them away from us for a while. One girl came out wrapped in a blanket with blood on her, and they said they weren't transporting any of the dead till the campus was clear, but 7 ambulances left with sirens and lights.
Please, so give them just a minute. Okay, I was going to take this maybe after. Somebody's already taken care of it. Hey, you guys rock. Thank you so much. You guys rock. You guys are fantastic.
183 to back, copy active shooter, UCC 1140 Umpqua College Road. The UCC, this is going to be the Snyder Hall. Somebody is outside one of the doors, shooting through the door. There is a female in the computer lab. We do have one female that has been shot at this time. We're still attempting to get further.
Exchanged shots with him. He's in the classroom on the
going to be the southeast side of Hall. Copy, Roseburg 17, exchanging gunshots right now with the Malleys in the classroom on the southeast side of Snyder Hall.
How are you doing?
Right now, I feel like I'm doing okay. I'm better than I was earlier. There's just so many emotions going on right now. There's so many things you feel that, I don't know, that you would never expect. But right now, I feel like I'm okay. Maybe still in shock. I just can't wrap my brain around it. I don't get it.
You were in the classroom right next door to where the shooting happened, and you said that at the front of the classroom there's an adjoining door.
Yes.
Is that right?
Yes.
What did you hear? What made you first think, like, oh, I'm not sure if something's right, or?
Yeah. Well, it was in the middle of the class. I was taking notes, and then all of a sudden there was like this loud pop. And the only way I can describe it is sounded like a ruler smacking against a chalkboard. So I didn't really think it was like a gunshot because it didn't really sound like it. But it made everyone jump. We all jumped, and my teacher, Miss Fair, she's like, whoa, she's like, I hope everyone's all right in there, because we didn't know what was going on. And then we went back to taking notes it all happened so very fast. And then,
and your teacher decided to go over to that adjoining door.
Yeah.
And what happened then?
After the second or third shot was fired, I know that now, but at the time we didn't know what it was. Again, you could hear shuffling and, like desks moving in the other room. And
Where the shooting was happening.
Right. And one of my classmates from the back had said, why don't you go over and see if they're all right? And my teacher, Miss Fair, she's like, I'm not going to go open the doors, I'll knock. And she went over and she knocked on the door, and she yelled through the door, she said, hey, is everyone okay over there? And then as soon as she said that, multiple shots were fired. And when she turned and she looked at the classroom, the look on her face was horrifying, and that's when I knew something was wrong. And she looked at us, and it was just, I don't know, it's hard to explain. And when she looked at us, she said, we have to get out now. And one of my other classmates jumped up, and he's like, everybody out, come on, let's go. And we just immediately began running, and still didn't know really what was going on, but I knew the look and the fear on my teacher's face that it was serious. So, yeah, it was just chaotic.
And that person that helped kind of get you out and say everyone's got to get out, you said that person was in the military or had some military training,
Yes.
right? And so did you guys take off running down a hallway then or outside your classroom? You're probably looking for someplace safe.
We all ran out, and I was just following my teacher a bunch.
All right, guys, it looks like that press conference is starting.
Okay, good afternoon, everybody. My name is John Hanlon. I am the Douglas County Sheriff. This afternoon, I am able to share with you information about the deceased victims. The information I am about to provide will be posted at www.flashalerteugene.net so that you may have the proper spellings and details. The victims are Lucero Alcarez of Roseburg, 19 years old. Quinn Glenn Cooper of Roseburg, 18 years old. Kim Saltmarsh Dietz of Roseburg, 59 years old. Lucas Eibel of Roseburg, 18 years old. Jason Dale Johnson of Winston, 33 years old. Lawrence Levine of Glide, 67 years old. Mr. Levine was the teacher. Serena Dawn Moore of Myrtle Creek, 44 years old. Trevin Taylor Onpak of Sutherland, 20 years old. And Rebecca Ann Carnes of Myrtle Creek, 18 years old. At this time, I'd like to introduce Fire Chief Greg Marler of Fire District Number 2, who would like to make a few comments regarding two of our victims. Chief?
Thank you, Sheriff. It saddens me to announce that two of these victims were actually members of our immediate fire and EMS family. Obviously, we are family, and this hurts. The situation is personal to us, and we share in the pain that this community is feeling right now. But I want to let everyone know our service and our response will not be affected in the light of this tragedy. We're working actively with law enforcement in their investigation, and then we ask that all questions be forwarded through their public office. I have some remarks from the family. The Anspaugh family, for Trevin Anspaugh, would like us to thank everybody for their heartfelt thoughts and prayers during this difficult time. Trevin was one of the most positive young men, always looking for the best in life. Trevin was larger than life and brought out the best in those around him. In Justin and Kim's words, Trevin was a perfect son. Thank you.
We have a few more family statements that we would like to read. And so I will start with Sergeant Boyd from the Oregon State Police, who will read a statement from the Eibel family.
This statement is from the Lucas Eibel family. We have been trying to figure out how to tell everyone how amazing Lucas was, but that would take 18 years. Lucas loved Future Farmers of America, volunteering at Wildlife Safari, and Saving Grace Animal Shelter. He was an amazing soccer player. He graduated Roseburg High School with high academic marks. He was a Ford Family Foundation scholarship recipient. He was an Umpqua Community College Scholars Award recipient. He was studying chemistry. Memorial donations can be made to Roseburg High School FFA and to the injured victims.
I will now read a statement from Jason Johnson's family. The statement reads, Jason Johnson, age 34, was proud to be a Christian. Jason recently enrolled in school at Umpqua Community College. Jason's mother said that Jason was proud of himself for enrolling in school, and so was his mother. They felt that Jason had finally found his path. His family says that he will be loved and missed. And now I will ask Sergeant Boyd again to come up and read a statement from the Cooper family.
I will read a portion of the Quinn Cooper family statement. We are shocked this has happened. Quinn was only 18 years old. He had just graduated from Roseburg High School in June. Yesterday was his 4th day of college. Quinn was funny, sweet, compassionate, and such a wonderful, loving person. He always stood up for people. Quinn and his brother Cody were inseparable. Quinn was going to take his brown belt test on October 10th. He loved dancing, voice acting, and playing ingress with Cody. I don't know how we're going to move forward with our lives without Quinn. Our lives are shattered beyond repair. We send our condolences to all the families who have been so tragically affected by the strange gunman. No one should ever feel the pain that we are feeling.
We know that the media are interested in speaking with the families, and we understand that. We are working very closely with them to arrange the release of these statements and photos. If they wish to do interviews, we will arrange those opportunities for them as well. At this time, all of the families are asking for privacy. We would ask that you would respect that. We would request that you help them work through these most tragic days ahead. This includes our emergency response families who themselves have suffered losses. First responders are not doing interviews, and we ask that you allow them to go about their work. I do not want to make a clarification regarding the number, I do want to make a clarification regarding the number of injured. We have confirmed with the hospitals that there were indeed 9 victims who were transported and treated, not 7. So to repeat, we have 9 injured, not 7, 9, and the death toll remains at 10, which includes the shooter. Again, we are still requesting anyone with information or photos or videos to call 1-800-CALL-FBI. Now, I would like to introduce Janet Holland, the Executive Director of the Community Health Alliance, to talk to us about the mental health resources that we have available. Janet?
Thank you, Sheriff Hanlon. I wanted to let you know that Community Health Alliance's staff are committed to helping this community recover from this tragic incident. Our thoughts and prayers go out to everyone affected. CHA's mental health care specialists are already on scene at Umpqua Community College, at Mercy Hospital, and at the Douglas County Fairgrounds. They are assisting our citizens that are in need. CHA has a 24-hour hotline to assist anyone in need of help during this tragedy. That number is 800-866-9780. For anyone needing to talk to someone during normal business hours, they are encouraged to call either 541-440-3532, or during this weekend, we will have drop-in hours at many locations across the community, including the Ford Family Foundation, our offices at Annex B on the Mercy campus. This is really hard. In the days and weeks to come, our CHA staff will be working with other healthcare professionals as well as state and local agencies to assist Douglas County residents recover from this unfortunate incident. I have been totally amazed by the outpouring of support across the state. We have received offers from the community, from Colorado, and we will be coordinating those resources to make sure that the needs of our residents are taken care of. We will be open on Saturday and Sunday from 9 until 8 at both our offices at Stewart Parkway at Annex B, as well as at the Ford Family Foundation. I want to remind everybody that during this tragedy, there's some things that we can all do. One is follow your normal routine. Do what you do on a regular basis. Second, take care of yourself. This was an opportunity. My son was at Umpqua Community College, and I had him actually lots of hugs last night. That was the most important thing, and let him talk. I let him talk about what his experiences were. The other thing is talk to people. Third, turn off the media and take a break. I think that sometimes we can get inundated by all the media and it can be overwhelming. I talked to my mother yesterday and she also said, I need a break from this. It is important that we all take care of ourselves. And lastly, we need to help each other. I have been, and I was born and raised in this community. I have witnessed firsthand the resiliency of this community, and I know that together we can get through this. Thank you.
We'll have an opportunity for questions as soon as we get through this. If you could hold on to that, please. I'd now like to introduce Vanessa Becker. She's on the chair of Board of Trustees with the Umpqua Community College. Vanessa?
Thank you, Sheriff Hanlon. I'm here today representing Umpqua Community College and also here representing myself as a community member of this incredible community. I want to express my deep condolences to all of the families that were affected, that were listed today, as well as those who are injured and all of our first responders and people who have been on the ground since yesterday. I want to join my colleagues and my community members up here in saying thank you to the local community and their response. Thank you to our statewide community, our national community, and even international community support. So just want to let you know we're feeling it and we're grateful for that. I want to also confirm that our focus right now at the college is really to support students and faculty and staff, and that's what our major focus is right now. We're in the process of mobilizing buses for students who have questions that need to get up and get their vehicles that are still on campus. There are buses that are being staged right now at the fairgrounds, Douglas County Fairgrounds, at 3 o'clock. So I encourage folks that if they have cars that they need to get returned, arrive at the fairgrounds at 3 o'clock. We also, as Janet mentioned, have some additional trauma-informed counselors and mental health professionals to help support folks at the fairgrounds as well. So, thank you.
And now I'd like to invite the Roseburg City Manager up, Lance Colley.
Said this last night. It's one of the hardest things anyone will ever have to do. Something that we hope would never happen anywhere, much less our community. I want to thank all of the people who showed up last night at the vigil to provide support for the families. I want to thank all of the people, the first responders, law enforcement, mental health, the folks from the college, for their response to this tragedy. And I want to say that there really has been an international and national response to this. People have been reaching out to us, people who have had similar tragedies, too many similar tragedies, both international and national. What we're asking our community to do now is reflect on this, try to support the families, certainly support the college, support people that they know who have been affected by this, and help us all move forward. There are a couple of things going on in the community right now that individuals can do to help. There are blood drives. I understand the one today has basically been overwhelmed, but the Red Cross will continue to have blood drives. You can contact them to schedule giving blood or go on to the Red Cross website locally to donate. There has been a few relief funds set up. IMUCC relief funds set up locally at Umpqua Bank, and at any Umpqua Bank branch, people can walk in or contact them to donate to the IMUCC Relief Fund. Cascade Community Credit Union locally. The Greater United Way is helping coordinate this. If people want to help, please contact them. And I particularly want you all to keep the families in your prayers. Please honor their privacy. Please know that we, with their help, with the help of the college, will move forward. And please take an opportunity to recognize what a great community this is and what a great response they made. Thank you.
So at this time, we'll answer a few questions. And sir, I know you had one.
John, I need to say something about
Oh,
classes, too.
I'm sorry.
I'm sorry. I just wanted to mention, I failed to mention that classes are canceled for next week. We're not allowed to get into buildings quite yet, so we don't have an announcement of when that will be, but next week we are not having classes, so I wanted to make sure folks knew that.
Thank you. Okay, we'll handle a few questions, sir.
Thank you. Was the shooter a student at the college, and was he taking that class? And then the second part is, was there any, did he leave behind any papers, any statements he wanted to make about it?
Yeah, those questions are all questions that we have intentions of answering as this investigation continues, but at this point, we don't have those answers to report and share.
Can you clarify what you mean by members of the EMS family? Were they EMS workers?
Trevin Anspaugh was a son of one of our firefighters with the fire district, and Rebecca Carnes was a niece of one of our paramedics with the fire district.
One more question.
Sheriff, the person who, the older person who was killed, the 67-year-old was the instructor. Can you tell us a bit, or is anyone able to give us a bit of background on this person?
I'm sorry, I can't. I don't have any other information other than what I gave you tonight. I'm sure soon there will be something more.
Can you confirm whether the shooter was committed suicide or whether he was killed by suicide?
At this point, that's all part of the investigation that's ongoing, and that determination hasn't been made. Thank you. That'll be the last question.
All right, guys, that is a wrap on that news conference. Obviously, this is the first time we're getting official word on those victims. Very sad indeed. You can see the pictures of some of those victims, those students that were killed yesterday at Umpqua Community College. Very sad to look at. Obviously, it is a tragedy, and any other news conferences that come in will give you that live here on News Now. All right, guys, it looks like we have lost the feed. I'm going to go ahead and play this video for you now. This is a newer video that was just sent to us. This is video of the Gunman's apartment complex. Video that was just sent to us.
Yeah, like it goes through your mind not knowing who exactly was hurt, but we have a clear idea that all the people that we're really close to are safe.
So when did you find out? How did you find out?
Our teammate texted us and was like, everybody let us know who's okay.
Are you nervous to go back to school?
Yes. Yeah, like the whole place is shut, like closed off right now. No one can get in.
But I mean, if you could go back, would you want to right now?
It'll be interesting to see the campus again, knowing what happened.
Had you ever seen this gunman before?
No.
So when you saw his picture, that was the first time you ever saw him?
Yes. Like, it was scary when you first heard about the shooting. Like, obviously, that's your school, your community. But it's different when you find out that he lived next door to you. Like, it don't feel safe at all. It's not the same.
But when she was riding with the mother, she had mentioned how depressed her son, they were talking about all different things, and she had mentioned her son had been pretty depressed for quite a while. And then they met later, and she was introduced to him at their house, and the mother mentioned how he just stays on his computer behind his closed door in his room all the time.
Obviously very sad to hear from some of the people that lived in the complex, and the whole thing in general, absolutely awful. Jeff, it has been a sad 28 hours or so.
It's very specific, but yes, it's been
It's been a rough couple of days. I'm going to lighten things up. I feel like it's time to step away from our extensive Oregon shooting coverage. Obviously, if we get any new information, we will bring that to you here on News Now. Any press conferences, we'll bring that to you on News Now. In fact, Mike will be doing the evening show tonight, so if there's anything that comes in during the evening, Mike will bring that to you. But I think it's time for Tech Talk. We've been putting off this Tech Talk for a couple of days because of breaking news and whatnot, but yeah, I was going to say, it's not even that we've been putting it off. News happens. You're Life accusing happens. me of being a jinx, is what you've been saying. So what happens, guys, is anytime that I've Tech Talk scheduled, usually that's when breaking news strikes. And yesterday morning at about 9 o'clock, 9:30, I tell Jeff, okay, we're going to do Tech Talk at 11:30. And then I joke, I was like, and then 11:35, we're going to have breaking news. And then yesterday, our breaking news came in at 11:25, but still the same idea. And I was like, Jeff, this is your fault. Well, there are more. It's happened before. We are so backlogged in Tech Talk topics. That's very true. The top true. of my list is, let me see. Facebook has overtaken MySpace as the biggest social site. So we're a little behind. We're a little behind. A little behind. Apparently, it's also 2006. Yes. It's a Throwback Friday. So where would you like to start? Well, the two topics that I want to talk about today, cutting the cord, because a lot of people in our chat room are intrigued by the concept.
And we're talking about cable. We're not talking about the
umbilical cord
right,
and babies.
Correct. That's a whole. I'm not qualified. Nobody wants to even talk about that.
Nope. And then latest updates unveiled by Facebook. You're fairly knowledgeable on both of these topics, so I thought, why not bring Jeff Moriarty up here?
I'm glad that that thought occurred to you. So shall we start with cutting the cord? This one's a bit bigger. All right, and this one came up in the chat room a while back, and people have asked about it. So this is a little bit of a request, and specifically, it's getting rid of the cable or satellite cord or dish, if you will, and
the $100 payment.
Yes, and getting everything you want off of the internet. Now, do you have cable or satellite?
When I moved here, I decided not to get it. This is my first experience with cutting the cord, and I've been doing it now at 11 months.
And how do you feel? Good? Miss it at all?
Good for the most part. There are a couple things that I need to see live, but conveniently, my gym in my complex has TVs. So there are moments where I go to the gym and work out just so I can watch a live event. It's really good motivation.
Okay, so it sounds like you haven't completely given it up. You're sort of weaning yourself.
Well, I don't have it in my apartment, and I don't really rely on it. I've done that like twice.
So,
gone to the gym to watch something.
So do you have how do you watch TV in your apartment?
I have Chromecast.
Okay, all right. I thought you were saying you didn't watch TV, because some people give up TV entirely.
No. I have Chromecast and a smart TV, and I have access to Hulu and HBO. I have Hulu, HBO, and apparently I have Amazon Prime.
Yes. Do you? Because what was the news today? Because they just cut that off. Because I think Amazon blocked out Apple TV and Chromecast from Amazon Prime today.
Oh, well, it's on the smart TV.
Oh, okay. Yeah, it's actually funny. It's gone. I've been without cable and satellite for years.
Do they want you to buy Amazon Fire? Is that the whole deal?
Well, there's a lot of discussion, because now each of those, Chromecast, Google has their own TV option. There's Prime. Apple, of course, is Apple TV. So there's this conflict of them offering the devices and the services, and they're not always playing really well together. So it's not entirely clear why they blocked it out. There shouldn't be a reason that you can't get Amazon Prime on Apple TV, but that was just an announcement today that was going around.
Oh, wow. So it is, I guess, relevant.
Yes,
it is a topic for today. Also, there's a new Chromecast.
Yes, the Chromecast 2, I believe, correct?
Yeah, that's really an original name.
So yes, well, once you get a name, it's sort of like the iPhone 6S. B3 large plus. I mean, you go with the first original name, and then the rest is just, you can do whatever you want. No one cares. But I got the cable, like 5 or 6 years ago, and it was a lot harder then than it is now. It's really simple. And it's kind of funny. I had a first generation TiVo. And when I got that, I would tell people, oh yeah, you've got this thing, and it's like a VCR, but there's no tapes, and you just record it, and people are like, what?
This is witchcraft. Who would This is watch like, TV this way? What, 1999, 2000? Yeah, I mean, at the time, people thought this was nuts. And then, as you know, once you try it, you're hooked. And then now DVRs and TiVos are just like everybody has them. It's just the norm, right? And I think that's the way this cable cutting is going. We did, I think it was at the same thing, a move, and we decided not to get it hooked up. People moving are responsible for a lot of technological changes. The last time we moved, no landline. So I think that's when people decide not to get a land phone or not to rehook up cable or drop these services. But perhaps a different discussion. So we decided to not get our satellite, which we were using at the time, and we got a Mac Mini. Actually, we tried an Apple TV, but this was several years ago, and it was really bad. It was horrible. So then we went to and I got a Mac Mini, which is just a little tiny version of the Mac computer, and we just hooked that up to our TV with the video out, use it as a giant monitor, and just surf the web for anything we wanted to watch. And it was hard to find a lot of programs. And now, What year was that? This must have been 2008 or 9, maybe. So it was a while back. But now it is so easy to, there's multiple devices out in multiple service. So let's start cracking those open. Mm-hmm. So in cutting the cord is what they generally call it, but it also applies to satellite, which I guess technically is a cord to your dish. But the two things you're really going to need are a device and the services that go on it. So the biggest devices that are out there that I see people using are, as you mentioned, the Amazon Fire TV, which is the little dongle kind of plug-in, and then the Chromecast, and then Apple TV, of course, and Roku. Mm-hmm. And the one that I hear the best of things about, although, and again, I tend to be on the nerdy side of the spectrum a little bit, is Roku. People really, really love their Roku. And Roku's been at it, I think, Apple TV's been out longer than Roku, but I think Roku's newer than both the Amazon and Google solutions. And one of the advantages I hear is because Roku's a little bit more neutral, they're not owned by one of them and they don't have this fighting. They're just kind of playing nice with everybody, and it's sort of you have easier access to the most content on Roku, from my understanding, or most apps. Yes, yeah, and there's a lot of really good features in there, and I think Roku's on Roku 3. They've got also just the numbering system that's not very exciting. Mm-hmm. And all of these are really simple if you've got a modern, fairly modern TV where you've got just a USB plug-in and things like that. And you do need a good Wi-Fi connection. The most standard cable connections are plenty for that. So
I want to check in with the chat room. Tess just cut the cord with DirecTV the other day. John Smiley cut the cord a long time ago. Frankie says, cut the cord and get an internet TV provider. Alfredo's trying to cut the cord. John says the problem is live sports, which is very true. Alfredo, Cox is charging Alfredo $200 plus for their service. So they have to get rid of a lot of stuff. Tess has an OTA antenna. OTA?
Over the air.
Over the air.
That was going to be my third point at the end here. So, spoilers.
She says she has that and have all the main channels, gets everything else from Amazon and Netflix. John Smiley utilizes Red Zone on Verizon phone and watch the local games and subscribe to the online NBA Pass. Huh.
Somebody saw my name go by, Jeff, what do you think of blank? And then you scrolled fast. I couldn't quite see that.
Where was that? Cha-Cha Ram cut cable TV by making a free HD antenna with 3 coat hangers and a hunk of wood.
That is some DIY amazingness there.
Tess uses Amazon Prime a lot and has a new Fire TV streaming box. Billy Z. Cruisin says, paying a cable company for phone is a ripoff. Magic Jack is like $60 a year. Alfredo, when he's home, doesn't like getting calls on his cell. Just call the house phone. It's how I did it when I was a kid.
Okay,
it's
so
how
they got off a little bit on the phone thing. Let's keep it on the TV
But I will
thing.
say, though, that's very interesting by Alfredo, because I just feel like, I get it. As a kid, we did use a landline, but why pay for 2 things?
Yeah.
Tess, I have a digital tuner, too, because I have old TVs. It records shows, too, but it's not fancy. Jeff, what do you think about Myth Buntu? Alfredo was asking.
Alfredo likes to drop the more obscure. Gatling guy, I don't know what this is. Yeah, it's okay. So it's Ubuntu is a Linux a type of operating system like Windows or OS 10, and there's software you can run on it that sort of works kind of like Apple TV does. I don't know a lot about it. I've heard pretty good things about it, but Alfredo, you are on the nerdy end of the spectrum with me, and I think 9 out of 10 dentists in this chat room or people watching are not going to go put out Ubuntu. So I'm going to stick to the mainstream ones. Good question, though. And Tess says live sports. I hear Sling TV subscription can get you sports. Yes. Now, okay. So once you figure out which device you want, and largely it's cost and preference, and take a look at which ones kind of work for you, what else you want. A lot of them offer different games. The Apple TV, I understand the new one has the ability to play a lot of the iOS games on it. So if that's important, that might influence your decision. But once you get the device nailed down, then you need to look at the solution, the software. And that's where a lot of these things are just browser-based, Netflix, Hulu being the two biggest ones right there. You mentioned HBO, and I think Showtime also has subscription-based. And then Sling TV is sort of the everything else for a lot of people. That's where you can get a lot of your other cable stations, and my understanding is there is a lot of live sports on there. I don't know exactly how much. I'm not a sports junkie. But I know that live happenings is one of the drawbacks, I guess, to cutting the cable. Well, go ahead. Well, I was going to say, I know at least with the basketball, though, they have the NBA League Pass, and that gives you streams and all access to all sorts of basketball games. Like one of our viewers in the chat room mentioned subscribing to that. So if you're a basketball fan, you can still get access to live sports, at least live basketball. And what I was going to say is, I think I heard basketball was out there. I don't think NFL is, but that's changing. And then there's also other stuff like if you want Ultimate Fighting, or as you move more out of mainstream into a little bit more niche sports that might be harder and harder to find. But the rate at which people are cutting the cord is accelerating. It's more and more people are dumping them. Cable companies and satellite companies, a lot of them are really stressed out about this. Then you've got companies like Google coming in with Google Fiber, giving people huge bandwidth where you can stream high-def movies and so on, and it's just not looking good for the cable and satellite companies. So I expect that more and more live options will become available. But so I wouldn't unless you are really, really, you consider live events essential, then that's the only drawback that reason I would say for not cutting the cord. Now, when you do look at these options, though, you have to pick and choose, and to me, that's one of the benefits, right? We pay for Netflix, right, and we are Amazon Prime members, but Hulu, if you pay, you still end up getting the ads. So we'll watch Hulu for free. We don't pay for that, so you don't have to pay for all of these things if you don't want to. What does free Hulu offer, though? Because I have paid Hulu, and I don't know if free Hulu has the same stuff that paid Hulu does. I think it's been a while since I looked, because I think they were adjusting it. I believe it has fewer ads, but not none. Well, I have paid Hulu. Right. So I think I don't know if you get to see all the same shows, though. That was what I was going to say, the other one, now that I'm remembering this, because my wife has complained about this. So sometimes like a show will come out, and like if you pay, you'll get it right away. And then she'll have to wait like 2 days, or wait till she can't view the latest episode. She has to wait till a new one comes out and then watch it. But I'm not sure that's that big of a deal anymore. We're in an age where people like to binge watch, and unless it's like something that's happening where everybody's talking about it, like when Breaking Bad ended, everyone was talking about Breaking Bad. You had to watch it that night because the next day it was everywhere. It was almost a live event. Right. There's most shows, if I have to end up waiting a week, I am actually learning something right now. I'm not. I just realized going to Hulu.com that you can actually watch. They still have free episodes of things. So I just clicked on the Fox show Empire because it was on the homepage. Please don't play and Empire in the show. I'm not going to play Empire, but I'm saying that I'm clicking on it, and they offer 4 episodes that are free, but you can get access to the whole season if you subscribe. Right. So I mean, I rely heavily on Hulu to watch all of my favorite sitcoms, many of them on Fox. Check out Brooklyn Nine-Nine. I've heard really good stuff about 9-9. I've been wanting to check it. I love Terry Crews, been a fan forever. That guy is fantastic. Like him as a person, love him as an actor. I just didn't want you to play any Empire just because music and copyright. Hello. Yeah. That's like a landmine. Come on, I know better than that by now. So, so you pick your device, then you figure out the services that you want, Sling TV, Hulu, whatever. And then the last piece, again, it was kind of spoiled earlier, you want to get an over-the-air antenna. You know, get a good one that picks up high-def channels, so then if you want to watch local stuff that's broadcast, you know, the Fox 10 News, you know, here in Phoenix, you can watch those things and supplement. Or you can go to fox10phoenix.com.
Well, yes. But you can't watch Judge Judy on that. So there you go.
There you go. Judge Judy, The Real, Wendy Williams Show. Yeah. All that.
Especially
stuff.
Judge Judy. Boy, I tell you, if we ever have to interrupt TV because during Judge Judy time.
Lots of emails.
Judge Judy's got some
Facebook
fans.
posts.
Oh, yeah. Oh, you do not want to mess up
That's
the
funny.
Judge Judyers.
Wow. That's amazing to me. The people, like, when I was at NBC in LA, if one of the soap opera, if there was a car chase that was on instead of a soap opera, there were phone calls to the station.
Yeah, people like what they get the routine and they like it. See if there's any last questions on this topic.
Yeah. Patio Heat, I've got you at News Now and Cut the Cord last month, relying on us for all their news. John
That's
pointing
a lot
out
of
there's
pressure.
also an pass for baseball similar to basketball. NFL, John saying it's pretty hard to access the NFL other than DirecTV. Tess is saying she watches free Hulu, few shows. I remember the days when we had 7 channels and they all went off the air at 2 a.m., Cha-Cha Ram says.
Oh, and then you'd get the tone. Beep, and then you
Really?
get like, it would post it's kind of a famous picture of like an Indian head when the shows would go off the air sometimes.
Really? When was that? I
or,
don't... This was like in the 70s?
Back in the olden days. Yeah, and then sometimes they'd go off the air to like the national anthem, or is it when it
Are
came
you
on?
serious?
Oh yeah.
This is new news to me.
Yeah, TV would just it
would just
was
stop.
like after like Johnny Carson, after the night it would like go off the air.
So there's nothing to watch.
Yeah, if you'd go on at midnight and turn it on, it would just be like test bars or something like that.
Wow.
Totally a thing. Yeah,
Let's see. I think there was a question up here. Wasn't cable supposed to be a way to get ad-free TV way back when? Patio Heat says now it's jam-packed and you pay for all the channels you don't use.
Yeah, there is no ad-free space left in our world. It's just not a thing.
Let's
Looks
see.
like that.
I think we've answered all questions.
Yay!
Shall we talk about the new updates to Facebook real quick?
Sure. So Facebook is rolling out updates. Want to see if you get it while I'm talking? Oh, don't bring that up.
That's pretty cool. Can I just show them that? No.
Okay.
I mean, it's an example.
Sure. I was just going to hold it up on my phone.
Oh, but I figured we would just...
Well, it looks better. I mean, most of these changes are for mobile, so she's bringing up my silliness. I am what's known technically as a silly human being.
This is awesome. All right, guys. So one of the big changes to Facebook involves your profile picture. Check out Jeff's new profile picture.
Yes, profile pictures can now be animated. You can have a 7-second animated video. It's not an animated GIF. You can't just put a GIF in there.
This is so cool.
But you get a chance to actually, I can show you the process here. So here's one of the other changes, actually.
Shall I take you full screen? There we go.
Sure. Okay, so you're on mobile especially, your profile is going to look a little bit different. You get your banner at the top and your profile picture, and then you're going to get this about area, and then this is tricky to do, but look, I'm doing it.
you can pick up to 5 pictures that you define as sort of your pictures that represent you. Like the featured photos that Yeah. are pinned up there. Exactly. So you select those out of your entire gallery. There's me with George Takei and wearing a top hat and other things. That's
what defines you.
Yeah, well, you should. Some of the pictures in my library are not ones that I want to put out there. It's bad enough I got one up here without pants on. So, anyway, going
Your
back to
reactions
this.
on your face is just so entertaining on this.
So what I did here, so let me show you how this works. Take me back full again
Okay.
before you're making people dizzy. Okay, so you just tap your video thing there, and it'll come up with an option to take a new profile video. If you don't have this option yet, right, it's being activated for people now, and you go into your Facebook app, what you're going to see is it'll say coming soon, the ability to do that. It'll just start getting turned on, so I'm just looking right now. So you tap that first one, and it shows, so you're actually looking at the newsroom here. You're seeing what we see, and then boop, boop. So now it's recording there. Woo, wave. Okay, so then it makes this video, and it has audio in it too, right? So this is also something new. It's not just animated, but you can record. Something that I missed because if you listen to my profile video, you can hear JR and other people in the newsroom talking in the background. I believe it plays quietly by default, but if you go to my page and so on, you see me spinning around like an idiot, making myself dizzy in the middle of the newsroom. Okay, so that's new. I have no idea how annoying it's going to be. I consider it is likely to be very annoying if everybody's profiles are all moving and spinning and everybody does stupid things like me. Or it could be a lot of fun. I don't know. We'll see. Right now you can't take a video from your phone and upload it. You can only record, which is probably a good idea, so people can't just upload just random junk. You have to kind of do it, yeah. The other thing that you can do... What's that? And you want to... So do you have this on your phone yet? No. Okay. Do you have to update to iOS 9? I don't know. I don't think so. You haven't updated to iOS 9? No. I barely started using my 6 again. I was using my 5S for a while. Oh, so retro. Look, I click on Facebook. I'm not even logged in probably. How do you function? So crazy. Okay, so the other thing you can do... I'm doing it now. So if you upload a video or photo here, boop, and you can pick a picture, then one of the other things that you can do... Oh, that's a cool photo. Oh, thanks. It's not giving me the option here. New, log in faster, not now. Okay, one of the other things that you can do with your profile picture is set it to... nope, so if you go down, and then you go... Oh, yeah, I can. Add featured photos. Whoa. Yep, okay, take a new profile video. It says upload video or photo. Oh, okay, well, that's new then. So then you can upload. Okay, then it is going to get ridiculous. So there you go. The other thing that you can do is set a profile picture to expire. Right? So you can say, hey, let's say it's Throwback Thursday, and you want to, say, post a picture of yourself, from when you were 5 years old or whatever. You can do that, set it for one day, and it'll automatically revert back to your main profile picture. Or if it's one of these causes, people put rainbows across their profile. Do that. And then it'll expire and go back to your original. If you're going on That's pretty clever. Going on vacation, right? You might post a picture of yourself just going, bye, and then have that set to expire when you get back. So there are a lot of fun things in here. Again, the whole look of the profile is pretty cool. You can put a bio in there. Just look at this one more time. Let's not. I'm getting dizzy just looking at that. What's fun is I've been doing this long enough here that every so often I go out in the newsroom and I start playing with something new, and everybody just clears out of my way. They don't even ask anymore. They're just like, okay, Jeff's sitting in the newsroom, spinning around in circles.
Jeff gets paid to spin in the newsroom.
Yeah.
Anyway, what do you do for a living? I do weird things.
I spin until I fall down.
Cool.
Yeah.
So good changes this time, I think. And no, you do not need to copy and paste a giant thing giving Facebook permission to enable this on your Facebook page. That hoax, man, I tell you. I cannot believe how many people.
Oh my
posted
God,
and
they're
shared
so
that.
annoying. You guys, no offense to any of you in the chat room who may have copied and pasted that.
You see that stuff going around? Go ask the Google, look it up.
Or ask Jeff.
Or ask Jeff.
When in doubt, send Jeff a message.
I love hoaxes. I love, urban legends and all that kind of stuff. So we could do like just top urban legends and so on. I love that stuff. It's fantastic.
All right.
I think Steve
Kraft is up next
paying attention?
momentarily. He is going to do, I don't know if it's Trump talk with Kraft. It's generic politics with Kraft. We haven't had one of those chats with him in a while. It's been at least a week, it feels like.
Did you see the picture going around of Trump with a man bun?
I did. It was amazing. I actually took a screenshot on my phone because I knew I had to remind people, but I forgot. Thanks for reminding me. Let's show the
Chacha Ram was asking, what is the meaning of life? The meaning of life is actually something I have figured out. Unfortunately, I can't tell you because it's different for each person, and if I tell it to you for me, then you can't use it. So, sorry. But yes, I have figured out the meaning of life. Oh, I'm very zen. All right, show Trump the man bun. That is the fourth most terrifying thing I've seen today. Yep. All right, while you're doing that, I'm going to go find Steve. Hopefully he's not putting his hair into a man bun.
Hopefully not. But maybe we can talk
Thank you for
about it.
having me.
Thanks for hanging.
Bye, everyone.
Tech Talk with Jeff, guys. Always fun to have one of those segments. Hopefully we'll get more Tech Talk with Jeff next week because we always like hanging with him, learning the latest in the world of tech. Sometimes it's not even tech talk during Tech Talk. Sometimes it's science talk, social media talk. There's so many different kinds of talks with Jeff. So I'm saying that now it's going to be politics with Kraft.
What's happening?
Hi, SK. It's been a
What?
minute.
All right. Darn tootin'.
Join me.
See, I'm back in the saddle again.
So
This is like a saddle that we sit. Have people ever seen this chair?
I don't think so. Do you want to lift it for everyone?
I don't know. Is it heavy?
No.
It's a little saddle.
It's like, let me move art. Yeah, there you go.
It's like a saddle.
It's like a salon chair.
It is.
But I like it.
I need a total makeover.
It definitely keeps, it's good for your posture. No leaning.
I know.
So, did you see Donald Trump's man bun?
I did.
We were just showing the viewers this as you were walking
I
over.
like it. It's kind of a sumo thing.
It is, yeah, sumo wrestler status. I saw that you just posted a blog post, by the way.
I'm a machine.
I don't know where to start in the world of politics. I guess what I could ask you about Obama's highly passionate speech yesterday after the shooting that took place in Oregon.
And then later you can actually show the folks the blog post.
That sounds like
it's
a great
a video blog. I know how much you love those. A vlog.
Was that what
Vlog.
your post was about?
Oh, if you go to my Facebook.
Facebook.
Yeah. Et voila. It's the musical title is Could the Republicans Blow It?
Should we watch this first?
Sure, why not?
All right.
It's hot off the presses.
Just posted 14 minutes ago.
That's right.
Wow. You guys are getting not the exclusive, but the first look.
Your party's prospects next year to win the White House. And why not? The Democrats' front-runner Hillary Clinton, the air's coming out of her balloon, isn't it? The economy's not doing too bad, but a lot of people aren't getting the jobs they really want to get. People are in a sour mood. The president's not very popular. Lots of problems with foreign policy. So on paper, looks pretty good, doesn't it, if you're a Republican? But could the GOP actually blow it? I think they could, and here's how. Angering tens of millions of Latino voters isn't a very good idea if you want to win. And also, I know Planned Parenthood is controversial, but there are lots of women out there who actually like it. They may not like what the Republicans have to say about it come general election time. So whoever wins for the Republicans is going to have to scoot back to the center to win the general election. But are voters going to buy it? Big question. Well, I'm very interested in what you have to say about all this. So I want to hear from you. Get in touch with me on Twitter at SCraftFox10 or on Facebook at SteveCraftFox10. It's real easy to do.
I'm glad that you haven't changed your signature tagline.
I could not possibly do that. You would be really crestfallen.
I would be really upset, even though it's real easy to do.
It is real easy to do. So what do you think of my thesis?
Obama, let's see what the viewers are saying.
Okay.
Well, looks like it's Billy Z. Cruzen speaking out. Billy Z. Cruzen, fairly conservative viewer, saying Obama's speeches are growing more and more ridiculous. If undocumented illegals get to vote, Americans might as well quit obeying laws.
Okay.
Let's see, viewers. There's also the 20-second delay. So I'm going to give, well, between the time that they watch the video, if that makes sense.
There's usually a 20-second delay between when I think of something and when I'm able to say it. Or when you say something and when I understand it. There's like a
same for them.
Chunk, chunk, chunk. Well,
I don't know.
Could the GOP blow it? You'd think they,
There's so
generally,
many candidates.
There's so many candidates.
But
there are a couple of disturbing trends, though.
The fact that the poll numbers aren't decreasing when they do terrible things. Not terrible things, controversial things, I should say.
Well, I don't know. I'm just thinking strategic. I'm not taking a partisan stand here for one party or the other. I'm just looking at what it takes to win. And the Latino vote is generally, a lot of it is in blue states that the Democrats are already going to win. In California, for example, or in places they're not going to win, like in Texas. But on the other hand, women are everywhere, and I think if you were to look at the national totals, how women feel about Planned Parenthood, support or oppose, it probably has overall a favorable rating from women as a whole around the country,
right,
taken together, not just members of the GOP conservative base who don't like it. And so this constant war on Planned Parenthood, I think politically is not a good move for the GOP, and I think shutting down the government over Planned Parenthood would have been really dumb.
I just think I think there's a misunderstanding of what Planned Parenthood is, and I think that's the problem. People get very passionate about the topic of abortion, and suddenly if they're told that all Planned Parenthood does is do abortions.
I mean, I've done stories there. I've gone to Planned Parenthood.
Then they might react without actually doing the research.
It's mostly people getting checkups.
Right.
People don't have money who need checkups. Reproductive health services. That's what that's 97% of Planned Parenthood.
Right.
And so, I don't know. If you're just looking at the politics, leaving aside your convictions about it and your moral qualms about it or whatever it is, I mean, and most of these people who are at the top echelons of the party, they want to win. They're not all that crazy about the issues. They just want to win the game.
So they just take a stance to win over the voters.
Well, I mean, the top echelons of each of the political parties, it's all about strategy and what do you have to do to get over the, to break the plane, to get in the end zone. And I think that angering those two large groups of voters could be problematic. You could get the nomination, just as Mitt Romney did 4 years ago.
Right.
And then really be damaged going into the big election.
Right.
And so, we'll see how it plays out. On the other hand, maybe something else will become a more important issue by next year. Mm-hmm. Maybe it'll be foreign policy, maybe it'll be the economy, who knows?
Do you think that at least, I feel like foreign policy is becoming a larger concern, especially this week. I've never had as much international news discussion on News Now as I have this week with Ron Hoon in the morning, with Russia, Syria, the airstrikes, all the stuff happening at the UN, for example. I mean, we've just been covering.
And it was interesting, I think, what President Obama said today. Sometimes one of the things that presidents do, whether or not you like Mr. Obama or not, is they'll choose not to get involved in something. For example, what the president said today is that the Russians, by doing this bombing campaign and committing to propping up Bashar Assad, they're just stepping in a big pile of, here, a 20-second delay. They're stepping in it big time, and it's going to come back. It's going to come back to bite him, and so he's saying that he's fine if they want to step in it. That's on them, but sometimes not to do something is a strategy. And so this seems to be his strategy. His strategy is, if you intervene in that civil war, it's just going to lead to catastrophe for you.
Right.
We'll see if he's right.
I want to read a couple of the chat room comments. Patty O'Heath saying, I think it's important that the candidates inform us about what they believe, and if they're not PC, then we should know.
Yeah, that's cool.
And Tess saying, I think the GOP can blow it. There is a lot of time left. Tess saying, I'm pissed off at Planned Parenthood for the callousness their people showed in the videos and discussing how not to crush vital parts when killing the fetus. Patty O'Heath adding, I'm all about GOP, but if America can't get on the same train I'm on, then we get what we vote for.
What train are you on? Are you on the peace train? The love train? The soul train? I want to know.
Let's see. Billy's at Cruising saying Planned Parenthood admitted they got 20 or 70% of their money from Medicaid. Why don't these women use their family physician?
I think a lot of people on Medicaid don't necessarily have a family physician. I mean, if you're on Medicaid, you don't have any money.
Yeah, you have to be making very little to qualify for that.
Yeah.
I think you have to be making less than $13,000 a year annually or something like that. Billy Z. Cruising posting a headline poll, Donald Trump still on top as outsiders, Fiorina, Carson rise.
Mm-hmm.
Tess saying, how are the polls? Do we have a new leader yet? Well, not
We do
yet.
not. I read an interesting article in Politico, which is a real good website, Politico.com. And Politico said that the one they're watching is Rubio.
Yeah, because he is the most favored candidate that also is a politician.
Right.
Most favored politician in the GOP.
He's the most appealing insider. And as all the other ones sort of fade out, the smart money is going to sort of get behind him. Because Bush is, I think, revealing himself as not a particularly energized and exciting candidate to watch. Although one-on-one, he's certainly an impressive guy, and he's real smart, and he knows a lot. This campaign cycle, though, people want a fresh face. He's just not a fresh face, and his family is not a fresh face.
Not a fresh
and Rubio
name.
has some of that, and he's sort of establishment, obviously, since he's in the Senate, but he kind of is a young guy, so he can kind of brand himself as one of the outsider insiders.
Right.
And he's not quite as extreme as a guy like Ted Cruz. He's not as idiosyncratic as Rand Paul.
I said this months ago, but I still think it holds true. Marco Rubio could be the GOP's answer to Barack Obama, or the equivalent of the...
He could be the flip side of that coin, maybe. We'll see. And I don't know if in the heat of battle and in the debates he'll demonstrate the same sort of intellectual depth that President Obama has, whether or not you like his policies. He's obviously got a tremendous amount of information in his mind. And I don't know if Rubio's got that. And I think we'll find out.
Rubio is a former member of the Gang of Eight. He has a terrible voting record, Happily chiming in there.
That's true. He was in favor of immigration reform before he was against it. He was in favor of a path to citizenship of some form for Dreamers.
Mm-hmm.
He was in favor of the DREAM Act, but now he's not.
Billy Z. Cruisen saying, I'd take Trump over Obama any day. At least Trump wants to make America great again after Obama tries to turn it into a third world nation.
A lot of Trump fans out there,
Yeah.
that's for sure. Still lots and lots of Trump
he's
fans.
leading the polls.
But how is he going to break through that 24% ceiling that he seems to be bumping into right now? How's he going to attract all these people out there who are for all these other candidates,
Trump's tax plan, any thoughts on that?
It's the same as all the other tax plans, pretty much. It's not much different from, except the cuts are a little bit bigger. But if you look at Bush, Rubio, all these guys have pretty much across the board tax cuts.
If a couple makes less than $50,000 a year collectively, they don't have to pay taxes.
Pretty much, yeah.
That's what he said.
Yeah, right. But, we have a lot of that in the United States right now anyway. How different is that really? He wants to cut tax rates for wealthier taxpayers more than we have right now. Is that the kind of thing that's going to win you a general election? I don't know. It might help get you a Republican nomination, and you can figure it out from there.
Patio Heat saying, I really love our country and respect the ability to vote. I wish everyone agreed with me, but don't expect that. I'm on the American train, but stay on the right side. Tess saying, I like Ruby. I'd like to hear more from him. Fleece Johnson chiming in saying, at first I thought Trump was a joke, but I like how he doesn't care what the PC police think. I still support good old Jebby first, though. Fleece Johnson, a Jeb Bush fan, welcome. And Alexion Linnea saying, build a wall and do not buy anything that says made in China. That for sure will make America great. Sure, the great pointless continent. Okay.
You know what? If we decided tomorrow not to buy anything from China, we would have no clothes.
Let's see. Is that Kate? I want to find one thing right here in front of me that's made in China.
My phone is made in China. Your phone is
made in China. Does it say made in China on it?
I'm sure it does somewhere. It's designed in California. Big deal.
Assembled in China.
See?
Can you guys see that?
Don't believe the hype.
I don't know if you guys can see it.
But I'll just read it. Yeah, none of this stuff's made in America.
It says, designed by Apple in California, assembled in China.
Big deal. They designed it in California. That gives tens of thousands of people who work for Apple in California a gig. Great. But
what about my sunglasses? Are those made in China?
Probably. And if not China, it's some other.
Yeah, they are.
All right.
They're made in China.
All right, we have to just take off everything that's made in China. It's got to go.
What else is around here?
This was made in USA. Thank you very much.
Wow, you're going to make America great again.
I'm making America
great. If you're running
for
president, that's the tie you wear because it's made in America.
That's right.
Well, you know what's, speaking of, this is hilarious. I thought it was hilarious, actually. So I saw this on Instagram, speaking of Donald Trump. Kevin Nealon's Instagram account, okay. Kevin Nealon, the comedian. And he posted this, I want to say last week or the week before.
He's making America.
And it was,
oh, brother.
It was a picture of the Make America Great Again
That's funny.
hat. I loved it. Make America Great Again. And then on the other side, you see where it's made in Sri Lanka. I just think it was really entertaining.
But
when I saw that.
In fairness to Donald Trump, it would be hard to find a hat made in America. I mean, really, it'd be tough. So his is Sri Lanka, formerly known as Ceylon, right?
I don't know.
Ceylon used to be the name of Sri Lanka.
I didn't know that. When
Back
was
in
that?
the day, long time ago. Ceylon.
Let me check in with the chat room again. Happily is saying, so happy I made it for Steve Kraft. I like his political talk.
Thanks.
Billy Z. Cruzin, I suspect Hillary followers will jump on Trump once she drops out.
Wait a second. They're going to jump. They're going to support Trump when Hillary's gone?
I don't know.
I don't think so, guys. They'll go for Biden, who I think is going to eventually get in.
He's going to go now, right?
I think he will. We have many
Obama kind of commented on it.
We have many more weeks of this drip, drip, drip of whether Russian hackers got into Hillary's email server and all this stuff. It's just not good.
Right.
I mean, it was hardly a campaign that was filled with, huge amounts of idealistic backers just willing to go to the wall for her, like Barack Obama had. She's never had those people.
And Biden has sounded more presidential in recent weeks. We heard from him yesterday. He spoke about the shooting, the tragedy in Oregon. We played that clip today, and I felt like he did a really good job commenting on that shooting. Talking about the pain of losing a child. Yeah. And then we know personally that he's experienced that multiple times in his life.
Sure has. It's been terrible.
So then it's like, it was just that moment of relatability that we, connected.
Let's talk about guns. The whole country's talking about guns, at least for the next couple of days.
It's true.
The story I'm doing today at 5:30, which I know everyone's going to watch, it's appointment television, we went to a gun shop asking them, after one of these terrible massacres, how is their business? And they said, after one of these events, business is great. People come into gun shops, and the business was never better than right after the Sandy Hook massacre in Connecticut, where 26 people were shot, including 20 first-grade children.
So awful.
And they did great business because all these people came in, and they wanted to buy AR-15 semi-automatic rifles. And the reason they wanted to buy the AR-15 which is in military parlance kind of like the M16 that was used in war.
I'm just going to pull up pictures of this so the
Right.
viewers have.
The reason they wanted to buy the AR-15 in particular is because that is the gun that was used by the killer in that terrible massacre.
So
their
terrible.
feeling was, now there's going to be this big push to make these either illegal or hard to get or too expensive to get. So you got to rush and get one before you can anymore. So fear of the president and just, I don't know, politicians generally, but certainly of the president and Democrats, drove a lot of people into gun shops. And, I talked to a guy today who has a gun shop in the East Valley. He said, this stuff was flying off the shelves. It was the best year the gun industry had in 100 years.
Wow.
In 100 years.
That's crazy.
And
That's so.
So it's interesting. It's an interesting story because instead of there being some sort of move people away from weaponry or whatever right after a massacre, people actually want to get more of it because they're fearful that it won't be there. And same with ammo. It isn't just guns. And it isn't just this gun. It's, semi-automatic pistols, 9mm pistols, revolvers, lots of different types of weapons.
Right.
And so it's an interesting sort of view of what happens and how politicized the whole world is as regards and how high emotions are about guns. And,
Right.
We've heard now 2 days in a row the president said that, he's had enough of the NRA and he's going to take them on. And every time there's a massacre, he's going to tell people that they got to get involved and be just as politically savvy as the NRA is. And he praised them as being really a highly effective lobby. And so he's calling people who oppose the NRA to put their money where their mouth is and actually go out and start agitating and becoming single issue voters and not voting for candidates who he feels are in the pocket of the gun lobby.
What do you think about Billy Z. Cruzen's comment? Chicago and Washington have the strictest gun laws, yet have the highest number of shootings a year.
Well, that's true. I don't know if they have the strictest gun laws, but it is true that there's lots of gun violence in Chicago. But I'm from there, and where the gun violence is the ghetto neighborhoods and the poor neighborhoods of Chicago, and a lot of it's gang related.
It's not so much these sort of.
It's not.
mass.
It's not. No. There's different types of gun violence and different types of violence. Generally, it's all bad. If we're talking about the types of events we had yesterday, where a mentally deranged, lonely, alienated young guy is
Right.
in his 20s, that's apples and oranges from gang violence on the street in Baltimore, Washington, Chicago, New York, or wherever it is. So apples to apples would be how many
Speaking of
how many of these type of gun massacres are there in the United States versus how many are there in Canada, Australia, England, New Zealand, places that are kind of like our country. I mean, that would be the apples to apples comparison.
And that's what people have been doing, referencing other nations that don't seem to have this issue.
Right. And the celebrated case is the one in Australia where in the 1990s there was a terrible massacre with this type of assault rifle. And I'm not saying this is technically an assault rifle because I want to be accurate, but with an assault type weapon or a semi-automatic type
Right.
weapon. There was a terrible massacre there. And they passed a law eliminating these types of weapons in Australia. Gone. And for whatever reason, they have not had this type of event again. So, it's a very emotional and hard decision for a lot of people. And a lot of people I met today who are responsible gun owners feel like they should not have to feel like their precious liberties are being impacted because someone else has a mental illness.
Right.
And it's highly unfair for them to have to pay for this. They feel that way. And some of them are frankly afraid of the big bad federal government declaring martial law in the country, which the president basically ridiculed today and said it was complete nonsense. And he made a joke about it.
He always makes jokes.
But, I mean, so the tempers are very, very inflamed on this, and I think that I hope we don't have any more of these events, but it seems like every couple of months we actually do. How many times have we been up here talking about them, and how long was it since the 9 people were killed in
Charleston was
Charleston?
July.
That's July, and this
And
is
then Virginia was in August.
August.
And I didn't have a mass shooting that I covered in September.
Okay, we skipped a month there.
But there was that, and then there was also the Louisiana theater shooting. Then there was the
Forgot about
Chattanooga, Tennessee shooting. I mean, the amount of mass shootings and shootings in general that I've covered here on News Now in just the last few months is crazy.
I forgot about some of those.
I mean, because those are some of the days where I devote full days to this kind of coverage.
So that's why you
And,
remember them.
yeah, I mean, I cover it for at least a couple of days. And
I could see this becoming an issue in the presidential campaign. And
for sure.
Frankly, this is another area that's tough for Republicans because if the president's claim is accurate, he's claiming that most people in the country, statistically, by large majorities, want some sort of what the Democrats are calling gun safety legislation as opposed to gun control. Interesting choice of words.
Gun safety does sound better.
Well, anyway,
control because
sounds like the government's controlling.
Well, the
you.
word control has a negative connotation to it in general because no one likes the idea of
especially in our country
being controlled.
Yeah, you don't be controlled.
Yeah,
but you want to be safe.
Right.
So I mean, this might surface as an issue in the campaign next year, and if we have a couple more of these events, hopefully we won't.
Mm-hmm.
But if we did, and more people seem to think this is the way to go. I wonder if this is another area where, just the numbers are just there. I don't know. So it's becoming more and more of a political issue, and the president said it should be politicized. That's what politics is about. It's about getting in the arena and having political debates.
He was very upset yesterday.
Yeah.
Everyone's saying Barack Obama is pissed off. He is angry. Lots of comments like that on Facebook,
what are some
on
of
Twitter.
our viewers saying about this? Because I'm sure everybody's pretty...
Yeah, a lot of people are very vocal about this. Let's
cool.
see. Why isn't anyone talking about really helping people who are mentally ill and their families, making it easier for them to get help? Tess says.
And I think that's certainly part of it. And I think that everyone's agreed, no matter what side of the aisle you're on, that we ought to have better mental health screening.
Mm-hmm. Patio Heat wants to know, does anyone fact check Obama when he said there were enough guns in the U.S. for each person to have a gun in the U.S.?
Not sure if there's 300 plus million guns, but there's
a lot.
Yeah, in the hundreds of millions. So.
Billy Z. Cruz, and Americans that obey the law are getting tired of criminals having power over them. Why would they give up their guns? Tess asking, what country is it? Switzerland, where everyone is required to have a gun and gun carry is low?
I don't believe that.
Mike D, the number one cause of this is they are seeking fame and celebrity. This is part of our culture. Ban guns and they will use a car or other method to do mass damage. That's true, though. This guy, if you believe that those blog posts are written by him, he does go into detail about other mass shootings, references the one in Virginia, references Vester Flanagan, references the videos that he shot, references the fact that no one knew him prior to this, and then the next day everyone knows his name. So he did bring up all of that in those blog posts, and then he told his readers to go watch the videos online, said they were good videos or something like that.
That's really pathetic, isn't it?
Really bad.
But no matter what any of us happens to write or say, the numbers are the numbers, guys. We can all argue about why it is the way it is, but our country stands alone. We really do. I mean, other countries have these terrible outbreaks. Generally, it's terror-related.
Right.
If there's a big shooting in France, this is a terrorist thing.
Right.
But the actual young, 20-something, lonely guy going and shooting up a university, that's an American, or a movie theater,
or an
school, an elementary school, a first-grade classroom. This is an American phenomenon, and I guess the president's waiting for the country to grapple with it one way or another. But it's in this country that we have this. I don't know why, but someone's going to have to figure it out. Oh well.
Hapalea, who cares if Obama's mad? Now he knows what it's like to live among the serfs like the rest of the Americans. Banning guns will not fix this, Mike says. He would have drove a car into a crowd if he could. Billy C. Cruz, the number one way to reduce gun crimes is to report the criminals in your neighborhood. John Smiley saying set up checkpoints in neighborhoods that the men on the street say a gangbanger has guns. Set up checkpoints like DUI checkpoints. Patio Heat saying in California there's a new law coming that if someone thinks you might be depressed, then the state can confiscate your guns. Interesting.
Wow.
And the celebrity component is also the reason why this is mainly a U.S. problem. It's our culture, Mike D says. Happily is saying over 1,000 knife crimes in London a month. This is a fact, a study done there. Banning guns will not stop crime or criminals. Billy Z. Cruzan saying criminals will get guns no matter what laws are made. It's a fact. Billy Z. Cruzan adding drugs are illegal, yet it's an epidemic. We had the same discussion in our morning meeting.
Well, there may be 1,000 knife crimes, but what's the homicide rate in London?
I don't know.
That's the accurate apples to apples thing.
Right.
What's the homicide rate in London?
And we're not
versus
hearing
New York?
any, like, you can't really have a mass stabbing, can you? I mean, it's a lot
could.
harder.
I mean,
you can, but it's a lot harder to
You'd
have
have
a
to
mass
have
stabbing.
a machete, maybe.
Right. Ugh, I don't want to talk about it. This is getting too graphic.
I know.
It is.
And there was something like that in China. Or as Donald Trump would say, China. China.
Oh, God, him in China.
He has a thing about China.
He does. It's always entertaining to hear him
Have
say.
you seen some of those phone apps where you have all these Donald Trump?
No, I haven't. We should talk about that on a future News Now episode.
Yeah, I have one.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, it's called Trumped. You can just play different Donald Trump crazy expressions.
This is amazing. I'm already excited.
Yeah.
You're so savvy.
Not really. See.
Okay, I want to play something about China.
Do I have a China one?
There's a...
Oh, let's try that again. It'd be nice if I turned up the volume on this one.
Yeah.
China has our jobs.
This is so fun.
China has our jobs.
I want to play.
Yeah, go ahead.
Don't believe it. Congratulations. Good morning. I don't need it. China has our jobs. Have you ever had sex before?
He actually
That is-
said that.
That's really entertaining. That is amazing. I feel like that was
This
the
is,
icing on the cake.
This is his.
It's called Trumped. Is it
Trumped.
free?
Yes.
It's a free app. Everyone download it now.
Here's a good one.
How stupid are our leaders? How stupid are they? I like China. I love the Saudis. Many are in this building. I like China. Am I supposed to dislike them? I love the Saudis. Many are in this building.
Yeah.
That one didn't work.
I have so many websites. I have them all over the place. I don't need it. I don't want it. How stupid are our leaders? Don't you think I should fire you? Are they? Don't you think I should fire you?
This is the most entertaining thing ever.
Oh.
Anyways, so your story about guns is on at 5:30, right?
You know that?
Wait, what?
It's nice. I'm really rich. I'm really rich. I'm really rich. I'm really rich.
That sounds like a remix on a rap song. I'm really like that sounds like a
Yeah, it's
part
just
of a rap.
this is just some of the little clips of stuff
This
that he's
is
and,
so
and it's
great.
not the only one like this.
This
There are
is
others.
just I'm game changer. That's what I'm gonna do today at the airport is just play with Trump apps.
The airport, where are you going?
Los Angeles.
Really?
Yeah.
California, you?
I haven't been in 5 weeks.
Are you going through withdrawal?
No, it's always a wedding.
Oh wow. That's cool.
Always a wedding. I'm thinking I should wear this dress to the wedding. Kind of think it
Nice.
would work.
It's
Yeah.
festive. It could work.
So I'm gonna wear the same dress 2 days in a row, guys. Judge me.
We won't tell anybody.
Well, the pictures will show it all. It looks like you just got a text.
Yep. So some of the folks like that. I like China. I like China.
That was so fun.
Now, Billy, don't be so sensitive. We're not making fun of Donald Trump. He says it's so tasteless to make fun of a candidate when you're supposed to be a political commentator. If anybody can handle a little
Humor.
it should be Donald Trump.
Secondly,
And he said all this stuff. It's not like I'm making it up.
yeah, it's just more entertaining to play the game. It's just really
Yeah,
fun.
and I think what other candidate out there has whole apps devoted just to his utterances?
His catchphrases.
Yeah,
Yeah.
his catchphrases. I mean,
So great.
I mean, the whole country knows you're fired.
True.
So we get a kick out of him.
Well, speaking of the Republican Party and Republican presidential candidates, a handful of them held various press conferences, public events today.
Good.
Obviously, we weren't able to take you there live this morning because we were doing extensive coverage of the Oregon shooting, but I did record them.
Good. I think people want to watch him.
And they do, especially this guy. He is neck and neck with Obama.
Ben Carson,
So
absolutely.
or not Obama, sorry, Trump.
Yep.
And I feel like we should hear from Mr. Carson.
That's a great idea.
I think that's a good idea, too.
That's Dr. Carson to you.
Dr. Carson, my bad. I'm sorry, Ben.
All right, have fun in California.
Thanks, Steve.
All right.
Have fun with your story at 5:30.
Thank you very much. I'll go
Make
write
sure
it.
to tune in, guys, 5:30. Box10phoenix.com or turn on the TV.
That
If you
too.
have one of those, you may have cut the cord.
Yeah, just use the internet like us.
All right, let's watch.
College student at Duke University. He came to talk to the campus about thinking big and achieving your goals. You always hear growing up that the sky is the limit and that you can achieve anything you want. But to believe that and actually do that are two different things. So as a little kid from Brooklyn, New York, looking at this guy from inner city grow up and achieve his goal and become world-renowned for it was such an inspiration. And it's because of that that I'm very proud and happy to be part of this Healthcare Coalition. In particular, I'm very excited about doing some military healthcare reform. 3 of my brothers have all served in the military, and I know how much they sacrifice for us. And so it's very important for me to see that we give them the very best care that they can. I'm also excited about the possibility of this healthcare savings plan, where patients can be more involved in their health care and actually have a better quality of life because they are empowered to do so. So I thank you guys for being here, and I look forward to hearing what he has to say to you.
I'm Alma Crum Golden, and I've been a doctor since a long time before this young lady was even born. And I've just retired from doing both healthcare and also teaching and some public health. I can tell you in the almost 4 decades that I've been a doctor that I've watched a lot of policies come forward and a lot of programs be attempted. And a lot of times the slogans sounded wonderful, and they really had a purpose that was very great. But what we didn't have is someone that understood how the system really worked, and not only the intended consequences, but the unintended consequences of policies. And I know that Dr. Carson and I have lived through the good and the bad, the good and the ugly that has happened in healthcare for the last several decades. I think because of that perspective, he's really able to help us. You know, I think that what we want is more than just health. We want wellness. We want resilience. And wellness happens with this sense of well-being that's much bigger than health. And resilience happens when you have meaning and direction and strength and acceptance. So consequently, we have an opportunity to do something much, much bigger than just promoting a set of health services, a reimbursement methodology, or a list of regulations. We have a chance to turn healthcare into something much better under Dr. Carson's leadership. And I look forward to actually making healthcare back to being about the basis of wellness and resilience, which is relationships. Relationships are what support really good health care. The relationships between a patient and their family, a patient and their friends, a patient in their community, a patient in their faith organization, and a patient and their physician. And so I'm excited about the possibility of actually doing healing, inspiring, and reviving, because I believe that a healthy body and spirit is what will really bring our country, our society, and our individuals to a much better sense of wellness and resilience. Thank you, Dr. Carson. May God bless you, and God bless America. Thank you.
Okay. So I want to thank all of my colleagues for their dedication and their willingness to stand up. You know, traditionally, physicians have kind of remained in the background, I think to the detriment of our society, because in the beginning, they didn't. You know, 5 physicians signed the Declaration of Independence. 3 physicians signed the Constitution. And there was a time when we were much, much more involved. And frankly, I think there was probably a lot more common sense back in those days, too. You know, physicians and scientists, engineers, you know, they are taught to make decisions based on evidence and not on ideology. And this is what I believe is so important right now in our nation, that we stop letting everything be turned into a political football, and we actually deal with the issues and solve the problems. You know, I was in the airport a few months back, and a lady came and sat down next to me, an African-American lady, and she said, "Doctor, I love what you say. You say such logical things. They make so much sense. But why don't you want poor people to have health care?" Well, you know, that, of course, is propaganda. People put out propaganda rather than solutions. I want everybody to have good health care. And the reason that I'm not particularly enamored with this so-called Affordable Care Act, not so much because it doesn't work, not so much because it's not affordable, but because it fundamentally changes the relationship between the people and the government. That's why I'm so vehemently opposed to it. You know, we're supposed to have a country where the people are at the pinnacle and the government is there to serve the people and to, you know, facilitate life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness of a nation that is of, for, and by the people. Along comes the government with the Affordable Care Act and says, we don't care what you people think. This is what we're doing, and if you don't like it, too bad. Well, what that does is it flips the equation. And now the government is at the top, and the people are at its beck and call. And if we don't recognize what's actually going on and change that, America is well on its way to the kind of fundamental change that I think most Americans don't want. And down the road would be saying, how in the world did we get here? Having said that, let's come up with something that is so good and that works so effectively that you don't have to force and cajole people into it. They will gladly accept it. And I love the concept of the health savings account because it puts the patient in charge of their own health care. You know, a good example would be Singapore. Go to Singapore and see how the medical savings accounts work there. It's beautiful. Everybody gets very good care, very happy, and it doesn't cost anywhere what we have to pay. But with the health savings account, we can pay for them with the same dollars that we pay for now. We spend almost twice as much per capita on health care as many other countries in the world. So it's not that we don't put adequate money into it, it's just used in an inefficient way. So we can pay for the health savings account from birth to death, make them available for everybody using the same dollars that we use now for health care. We wouldn't have to use quite as many of them. We would have the kind of health savings account where the patient is in charge, just like you are, of your savings account. Not the kind where you have 600 bureaucrats that you have to go through. And you give people the ability to shift money in their health savings account within their family. So if mom is $500 short for a special scan, dad can give it to her out of his, or son, or grandfather, or cousin, or uncle, or aunt, anybody. It makes every family their own insurance company with no middleman. Imagine how effective that is in terms of covering almost anything that comes up, except for a catastrophic event, for which you would still have catastrophic insurance. But the cost of your catastrophic insurance is dramatically decreased now, because the only thing coming out of your catastrophic insurance policy is catastrophic health care. So it's like a homeowner's policy with a large deductible, which is a very different animal than a homeowner's policy where you want every scratch covered. Makes a huge difference. Now that will take care of the vast majority of Americans, but it doesn't take care of the indigent, because, you know, we don't have a source from which to fund their health savings account. Well, actually we do have a source from which to fund it. How do we fund them now? Medicaid. What's the annual Medicaid budget? $400 to $500 billion a year. How many people participate? About a quarter of our population, which is way too many, by the way. But that's another topic. How we get the economy stimulated and rolling by getting rid of some of the massive disincentives that exist now. But that's a whole other topic. We can do that another time. But 80 million people, 400 to 500 billion. 80 million into 400 billion, 5,000 times. $5,000 every man, woman, and child on Medicaid. That's how much is allocated. What could you buy with that? Most concierge practices cost between $2,000 and $3,000 a year. So we can put them all in the concierge practice and still have thousands left over for their catastrophic insurance. which is much cheaper now. Now, I'm not suggesting that we do that. I'm saying we have enough money to do that. And if we utilize that money in an effective way, it will work for us. You know, a lot of people in Washington would be quick to say, it'll never work because poor people will never be able to manage a health savings account. They're too stupid. But they said that about food stamps. They said, yeah, you can't actually give them the food stamps. They'll go out and buy porterhouse steak the first 5 days, and the 6th day they'll be on the corner begging for food. Did that happen? No. They learned how to buy a hamburger helper and rice and beans and corn and make it last for the whole month. And they would do the same thing with the health savings account. You know, Mr. Johnson, who has that diabetic foot ulcer, would learn very quickly not to go to the emergency room, where it costs 5 times more than it would cost to go to the clinic. He's going to go to the clinic, gets the same treatment, but instead of just kicking him out, the clinic says, let's get your diabetes under control so you're not back here in 3 weeks with another major problem. A whole nother level of savings, which we as a society simply are not realizing. And also, we're teaching Mr. Johnson the whole concept of personal responsibility as opposed to dependency. And anything that we advocate in our society should be leading people toward personal responsibility and helping them to move up the ladder rather than embedding them in a position of dependency, which we have done far too much of in our country, and we're not getting the potential out of our people, because that is what made America into a great nation. Questions?
You mentioned the idea of evidence.
Of what?
Of evidence,
Yes.
putting priority on evidence. Germany's top security official says they've found no evidence of terrorists or anyone with instructions to carry out attacks in the country with migrants coming from Syria. Does that idea change what you believe is the composition of people who might be coming to the United States?
Well, that's not really a health care question, but I will just say at some point you have to use common sense and logic. Recognize that if you're part of the global jihadist movement and you see large numbers of people from your area moving into the United States, wouldn't you want to infiltrate them with some of your people? I mean, they would be fools not to.
Dr. Carson, hospitals yesterday in Oregon were overrun with victims of the shooting at the community college. What should we be doing at a government level to curb this type of violence?
Well, I think one of the things that we do in medicine when we see a big problem is we analyze the data. Even if you're in a laboratory and you're doing experiments and it doesn't work out the way you expect it, we still analyze the data to glean something from that, because that information helps us down the road. We should be looking at all of the incidents where we have these people who go out and commit these horrendous crimes, to find out as much as we can about what type of person does this. Because we need early warning so that we can begin to intervene when we see that type of individual, so that that incident does not occur. That's the way to handle it. You're not going to handle it with more gun control, because gun control only works for normal law-abiding citizens. It doesn't work for crazies.
Under your health care plan, Dr. Carson, would people, if they didn't want to go to a catastrophic plan, would they be able to keep their current plan?
I do not believe in forcing people into things. You'd have to be almost nuts not to go to the plan that I just described. You know, particularly, you look at the indigent people. Right now, a lot of them are having real difficulty finding a doctor who will accept, the meager payments.
On Medicaid.
Right. You will not have that problem now. Everybody's money will be of equal value, and you get rid of a lot of the disparities and things like that that are going on.
What do you do about people in nursing homes? We know that a large amount of the Medicaid money is not being spent just on poor people, but is being spent on elderly people who have expended all their resources. Here in Iowa, our nursing homes are full of people who are on Medicaid, so how do you address that? Are you going to pay for that with an HSA?
Well, interestingly, over the course of time, that's exactly how you pay for it. Because remember, money is accumulating constantly, and whatever you don't use, it doesn't disappear. It continues to be there, it continues to grow. And as I said, at the end of your life, you can actually pass it on. So over the course of a few generations, people are going to have enormous sums of money that are available to them. But in terms of nursing home, that has to be done through nursing home insurance. You have to have insurance for that kind of thing.
Also a follow-up question on food stamps. You compare this to food stamps. We know, you go to any of the food pantries around here and they'll tell you they're full of people who have exhausted their food stamps for the month. Are you going to have health care pantries for people who have exhausted their health care for the month?
I think for the most part, people have learned how to use their food stamps very appropriately. And, I don't think that you adjust your program for the exceptions. I think you adjust the program for the rule.
Are food stamps, you talk about goodies and handouts and dependency, are food stamps part of that cycle that you described?
What are you talking? Are you talking about illegal immigration now?
No, you talk about how even in the black community you say that there's a lot of dependency on the government and that the government gives out goodies, I think is your phrase. Are food stamps goodies?
Here's the important thing of what I'm saying. What I'm saying is what I want to do is create opportunities for people to climb out of a state of dependency and become part of the fabric of the strength of America. We're not going to do that if we just make people dependent on government programs.
All right, we are going to close up here, and then we'll have our town hall downstairs where we'll be talking about health care, taking some questions from the crowd as well. So thank everybody for coming out, and we'll see you downstairs. Thank you.
Okay. Hey, thank you all. That was wonderful.
Thank you. Great. I need to. I want to be.
Oh, yeah, absolutely.
They still for camera. Diana's got it right. Yeah, she has her. Yeah, you're great.
You did a great
She only has. I didn't have to. You're wonderful.
It really was.
Yeah. So I didn't want to.
Well, Obamacare has pretty much
Happy Friday, everybody. We made it to the beautiful TGIF. My name is Mike Page. We're coming up on 4 o'clock. We're going to take you all the way to 5. Just 60 minutes. A little 60-minute action with Mike, and then you get me all evening starting at 6:30 for a very, very big show. We're going to have an Oregon shooting update, and then we're also going to go inside the shooter's apartment. That is coming up at 6:30. I got actually a fun little new study out, and I want to know what you think about it. It says why you should always dress up when you're going on a plane. So I want to hear your thoughts on that. And I do have a model, and her name is Samia. Right now. Samia is going on a plane, and this is what she will be showcasing. Very nice, Samia. Because, you get so many people, you just see flip-flops, you just see
Yoga pants?
Yoga pants.
I am one of those people, though, sometimes.
Hey, but this is good, and that's why we're going to talk about this new study. I think it's awesome.
I think a lot of people wear yoga pants. When it's cold,
Yep.
Typical girl thing. Anyways, I'm interested in hearing your top 10,
Yes.
so do tell.
I will. Well, please have a safe flight over there.
I gotta download Uber on this one.
I do want to get into this. This is a great study. Number one reason why they say you should dress up is you may get an upgrade. Yes, it does say that. It says these days most flights are overbooked, but in the rare instance that they aren't, being better dressed than the others will give you an edge, because the people that are working the gate and they want to give upgrades to people, they're not going to want to maybe give it to someone that's in flip-flops or is in kind of like a baggy pants situation. So always dress up for that, because they want to showcase you to their best customers. Tell me what you think about that. Second one is you'll save space in your suitcase. Is that true, Samia?
Well, you say space in the suitcase. That's true, because, for example, as I may have told you, I may be wearing this to the wedding tomorrow, and now I'm not putting it in the suitcase, meaning it's not going to get wrinkled because I'm wearing it. So it's a really efficient way to carry things that
Beautiful.
may get wrinkled otherwise.
Beautiful. So that is the number 2 reason why you should all be dressing up. As we get into the next 2, I do want to read some of these. These are all great. Everyone's awesome right now. Billy Cruzen says, I think it's great, but people will complain that it's not fair. Some may say that. Some may say that. Lana, when you fly on a buddy pass, you have to dress up too. See? And you know what? Back in the old days, everybody dressed up. If you look at some of the old baseball games and football games, everybody dressed up because you were going. It was an event. You know, you didn't get to do it every day. And when you used to fly, you used to dress up as well, because that was an event too. Now everybody just treats it like, okay, I just got to get from point A to point B. Put me on there the fastest way possible. I'm just going to wear whatever I want. That's what people are doing now. Number 3 reason is you'll feel better about yourself. Isn't that true? You know, when you got some nice clothes on, maybe you just showered, you got that new fragrance on that you really like, you really can sit back and you can enjoy that flight, and you're going to feel good about yourself while you're on that flight. Interesting. Rachel says having a kid come with you also helps, so you're not a standby passenger. There you go. See, we got all sorts of little flying tips right now on this Friday, TGIF style. Billy says back in the day, people dressed up to go out to nightclubs. Now people look like crap and wonder why clubs have so many problems. That is true. You act the part, you dress the part. That is very, very true. That's right. You know, when you'd see people go out to dinners and dates, everybody would get dressed up. It was an event. Now they're thinking, well, we do this all the time. It's nothing. And now the 4th reason why you should dress up on a flight is you'll make work more pleasant for the flight attendants. They said planes are their workplace. No one wants to wait on someone in basketball shorts and dirty flip-flops. Interesting. Tell me what you think on that one, because you're actually going to be making it easier for them. It's easier, better on the eyes too, right? I know, Tess. That was a good one, too. Patio says, I never go out of the house but to take out the trash. You got to get out. It's going to be beautiful weather coming up here in Arizona. Just absolutely beautiful, but not on the East Coast, where look at this hurricane is starting to make way. We'll talk about that later this evening as hurricane preps are beginning on the East Coast, but back to our survey. I thought that was a great survey. Kind of really just brought TGIF to a circle there. Everyone's having a great time with this one. Kind of had to break it up. We went, you know, Oregon shooting, very sad, very sad. Then we went politics. You know, some people don't like politics. Some people, you know, it's always, but this one we could all talk about it because one way or another we will be getting on flights very soon because the holidays are fast approaching. And speaking of holidays, has anyone started Christmas shopping? Has anyone? I know I haven't. I don't start until after Thanksgiving. That's true. I don't even shop that day after Thanksgiving because I think it's amateur hour. Let me know what you do. I'd really appreciate that if you could tell me, are you close to being done? Did you not even start, or have you started and you're just getting a couple things here and there as the weeks continue? Because it is already October, folks. 2 more months, we're there. Wow. It's coming up fast. Tess says, I'm not shopping at all. I'm sending cards and flowers. There you go. Already done for you. You know, when you send out the cards, you can put a little gift card in there. Bada bing, bada boom. But then there's always that question, are gift cards personable? And I don't mind giving them. It's a lot easier. The person that I'm giving the gift to can do whatever they want with that gift card. Makes it a lot easier. So, let me know what you think. Billy says Black Friday is a ripoff. I always shop the last few days before Christmas because I get the great deals. That's another way of looking at it. So it just all depends on your own style, on what you need to get done. Some people, you know, have $1,400, $1,500, budgets that they have for people, and some, you know, have much lower. So it takes them a little bit easier to shop. So yeah, it's all about what people are willing to spend and where they want to spend it at. Billy says, my daughter just got $350 worth of clothes for $160. Look at that. Deals, deals, deals everywhere. Yeah, it's very interesting that this year has just flown by. I think what made it go so fast is last year we had the holidays, and then right into the new year, it was already like Super Bowl time. You know, like February 1st was the Super Bowl out here in Arizona, and I think that really just catapulted the whole year because there was all those events downtown and in Glendale and in Scottsdale, and that really just, I mean, January was just a blur for people because there were so many events to go to. And then, of course, you had the big Super Bowl in February, and then, of course, all the other events that happened in the Valley. And I'm just excited for the weather to be shaping up and getting a little bit cooler because that means a lot more fun events will be happening. We could go outside and really take in all the beauty of Arizona. We could start hiking again. That's another good thing that'll be coming with these cooler temps. Rachel says, I can do a bunch of baking. There you go. Lana says, Tess, go check out the Christmas tree at Anthem Mall when you need a tree fix. There you go.
Is dramatically decreased.
I hit the wrong button there.
Because the only thing.
Oh, well, I just hit the space bar and it just took Ben Carson again. So we have a lot of stuff to talk about coming up at 6:30. This was a really good chat with you guys here. Chachu says, Mike, the older you get, Christmas comes every 6 months. There we go. Billy says, Walmart already has Christmas stuff out. I was livid, he says. Interesting. Well, I would get more mad if I saw that before Labor Day, but now, I mean, we're talking October. It's going to be Halloween time, and then boom, we're going to go right into it. You know, you really don't even get a November or Thanksgiving time because it's Christmas overload come November hard. So, yeah. Very good discussion. We go from what you should wear on a plane and why you should dress up to we're talking now about Christmas deals and how fast Christmas is approaching and how much you're going to spend and what you're going to do. I love it talking to you guys. We're talking a lot more coming up at 6:30, so be sure to check it out. We're going to have a lot of info for you. It's going to be a lot of fun, but I do want to bring up an event that we didn't talk about yet because there were so many other things going on, with all this Oregon shooting and just this kind of sad situations, but we'll be talking more about that at 6:30. But hold on while I try to look for this for you guys. There's a lot of here, but we're gonna go and hear from Christie right now. Glad I had that info for you. So we're gonna take this until about 5 o'clock. Watch Christie. Then we're gonna start up that stream at 6:30. It's gonna be a great show. I'll be with you from 6:30 to 9. I'm looking forward to it. We're gonna play Christie right now from an event earlier. Hope everyone is having a great Friday, and I will see you guys at 6:30. Enjoy this stream.
I'd be happy to take your questions. Phil?
Cape County, particularly high percentage of low-lying areas there. Does that really exacerbate the flood risk?
It does. It does, and that's why we're doing the slosh modeling now, Phil. And for those of you who don't remember from 3 years ago, the slosh modeling, it is us taking the forecast, interacting that with our maps and the various topography of the state to see how far inland we think water could get based upon flooding and storm surge. And so we're doing that modeling now, along with the National Weather Service, and that will have a large part, Phil, in determining whether or not in areas in Cape May and Atlantic and maybe in Cumberland, Salem, where we might have to order some evacuations. We're not there yet, and if we are going to be there, my guess is we'd be there in the next 12 to 24 hours, and we'll let people know.
So, if I may, there's severe breaks in the plans for the contiguous barrier with the Dunes project. How much concern is that?
Well, listen, I hope people understand now why I've been as assertive and at times as angry as I've been at some of the selfish opposition to dune building in this state, which has caused delays in the project. So the folks in Margate today, who are now in the eye of this flooding, I wonder if they think it was a smart move to be fighting doing this. I wonder if the folks in Bayhead and Point Pleasant think it was a smart move now to be fighting the dunes. And so the breaks in there, some of that are just the basis, Phil, of federal funding and the bidding process and all the rest. But some clearly have been delayed because we've had to go to court and have eminent domain fights with people who are more concerned about their view than they're concerned about the safety of themselves and their neighbors. And so, again, I hope that folks understand, when I've been as assertive about this as I have over time, not only in terms of my language, but in terms of the legal steps we've taken, this is why. And the fact that we don't have all this done by now is not completely, but in large measure because we've had to have these legal fights along the way rather than people, as the overwhelming majority of people in the state did, was to give voluntary easements. And so, yeah, it's a concern, but DEP is working as we speak to move sand and to add sand in places where we can be helpful to try to take care of those issues.
Is there a greater sense of security, Governor, in the towns where a lot of the work has been done, like some sections of the Barrier Islands?
Sure. Yeah, there's no question there is. I mean, listen, those folks are safer and more secure because of the work that's already been done. And so, yeah, but again, we're speaking in a vacuum a bit of it, right? Because I don't know how bad it's going to be. And again, like Sandy was a two-punch, right? It was two different storms coming together. We unfortunately are dealing with the same thing now, right? So we have this nor'easter coming up and giving us the hit tonight and into tomorrow, and then the potential of Joaquin coming, Sunday, Monday. remember, part of the problem with all that is that the back bays get filled with water now. The rivers rise with water now. So you're not just dealing with a hurricane storm surge, but you're dealing with, back bay areas at the shore, both the Delaware Bay and the Barnegat Bay, and some of the rivers, which will be fuller than they would otherwise have been because of the 5 to 6 inches of rain we're going to get in the next day and a half. So, again, if it was just Joaquin, there would be less concern potentially, depending upon the tracking. But when you have this right back to back with Joaquin, it puts an enormous pressure on the water. The only good thing is that our reservoirs are well below where they should be this time of year. And that's why we had the water warning that we issued just a week or so ago. So we're not having to worry about, usually at this time of year, our reservoirs are at anywhere from 80 to 90%. Right now, our reservoirs are somewhere in the 50 to 60% range. And so that will be somewhat helpful. That's on the positive side. So, there's a bunch of different, both environmental factors and then work that we've done since Sandy, which make things better. But there are some things, because of the nature of the way this storm is progressing and it being a two-step process, like Sandy was, that make it more problematic for us.
Can you talk about what changes to your residential campaign you're making because of the storm? Will you be in New Jersey?
Yeah, I will be in New Jersey through Tuesday. I've already canceled my schedule in New Hampshire. I was scheduled to be in New Hampshire tomorrow, and I think part of Saturday. That's already been canceled, and I'm here at least through Tuesday. Yeah, at least.
What steps is New Jersey Transit taking to protect its vehicles, and what can commuters expect in the next 4 years?
Well, we hope normalcy for most of the state, at least in the next couple of days. Here's the only way there won't be. If we have to start to move equipment to higher areas, which we discussed last night, I discussed last night with Ronnie Hakem, and there's a plan in place to do that, that will cut back on the amount of equipment we have to move people. So there may be some delays. We don't plan on any of that right now because, as we said, most of the focus, at least for the next 48 hours, is on those 4 southern counties. But as we get a better handle on Joaquin, we're then going to have to make decisions about whether to move equipment out of where it is now and into safer areas. And if we do, that can wind up having an effect on service. The other thing, of course, is the worst thing in the world for catenary wires is high winds. And if we wind up having the 70 to 80 mile an hour winds that some are talking about, that can also affect service as well. That's less of an equipment issue than it is, an issue of the electric trains and they be able to operate without the catenary wires being upright. So Ronnie Hakem is prepared with a plan to move assets out into safer areas to try to prevent loss of assets. We haven't made that decision yet because we don't believe that this first part of the storm will have an effect on those assets. Joaquin could have an effect on those assets, and if it does, then we're going to move them. But if we move them, that will cause for some delays because we'll have less equipment to move people since we've moved it out.
What can be done to protect the Roseburg tunnels and the Pack tunnels?
Listen, there's not much we can do. I mean, it depends on, where the storm is and how it works. We wound up having Irene and we had no effect on those places. With Sandy, we had a big effect. It depends on where the storm goes. But it's not like we can close them off. I can put a door on them, So, we'll have to deal with what we're going to have to deal with. But at this point, to be clear, we don't have any indication yet that there's going to be any significant problems in that area of the state. It depends on the track of Joaquin more than it depends on the nor'easter that we're talking about right now.
Is there anything that, as far as preparation goes, that you say that you learned from saying that different from that preparation?
Yeah, lots of stuff. I mean, I don't think we have enough time to go through all that, but, Colonel Fuentes at OEM, along with Dr. Rodriguez at OHS&P, and before him at Dixon at OHS&P, and before him, Charlie McKenna at OHS&P, who dealt with the aftermath of Irene, have been working on really what's a unique kind of protocol in the aftermath of Sandy to any state in the country that we're using for the first time now, that we developed from all the different experiences we learned in Sandy. And so we're going to see how that works. But I think there's no question, listen, I'm much better prepared. The Lieutenant Governor's much better prepared, and for the folks who are up here who lived through Sandy, they're all much better prepared. And for our friends who ran Sandy with us, some of whom have gone to other parts of the government, some of whom have gone to the private sector, they all got calls from the governor yesterday telling them that they're all available for calling off the bench. And I instructed all of the folks who have predecessors who went through Sandy that in this 24-hour period starting yesterday afternoon, that they had to call their predecessor and get downloaded directly by their predecessor about things that in retrospect they look back on and say, here are some things that we found were particularly important. And so all the cabinet members who are new to this experience standing behind me, I've had conversations in the last 24 hours with their predecessors. Those predecessors have all been contacted directly by me to let them know that they are subject to recall from either the private sector or from other parts of government that they've embarked to be able to see. They see McKenna's back there already. Dragged it from the SDA over to here. So building schools can stop for a couple of days, and we'll be happy to have Charlie around to help as well. Claude.
Governor, do you have a sense of where we are on the berms in terms of a percentage, what percent of the goal has been met in terms of?
I know. We'll get that information to you, Claude. I don't know it off the top of my head.
And it's just as a follow-up to that, do you feel like that there might be any further consultation with the federal government in advance of the storm?
Oh, we've already had that. Sure. I'm sorry to mention that up front. We've already had conversations with FEMA and the Department of Homeland Security and already begun to talk to their incident folks there to be prepared. We've had conversations with the American Red Cross already, all the things that you would normally do in preparation for a hurricane. So all those conversations have already been ongoing. If I feel the need to get on the phone with Secretary Johnson, we have a good relationship, and I'll do that. But right now it's happening at the staff level, and we feel ready.
Just along those lines, I'm curious, there's always a swell after these kinds of natural disasters, a rush of people to donate blood, and then there's always a question of capacity or lack of capacity. Is that, in terms of the whole blood supply, do you know where we are as the state?
At this point, we don't have any concerns about where we are in blood supply. And if we do, we'll certainly let people know. Other questions? Yeah, Melissa?
Yes, very regarding, can you tell us why you decided to become this? It's not the first time that you've offered money to people who were facing gun charges. Are you going to work with those six YGs to offer us?
Listen, I've said, you've heard me say many times that I'm happy to consider legislation that has some common sense to it. You know, when people legally own guns in other states, and they come in here, as these folks did, and they voluntarily admit to police officers during other interactions that they carry a gun and they're carrying it legally with a license from another state, and they're arrested and face jail time for that, I think that's completely illogical, and it's not just. And if it happens, I'm going to pardon those people. Now, in the context of, Melissa, the normal consideration we do of anybody who's considered for pardon, which is we look at the rest of their background, we meet with them, we meet with their attorneys, we do the kind of checks that are needed so that there are no surprises. And so, but in that context, if I think something's being unjustly done based upon the inflexibility of our gun laws, then I'm going to do that. And I've done that going all the way back to 2010 with Brian Aiken. And so this is not something that's new. When these issues come up, if people, remember, people have to apply for this too. It goes through the parole board and then comes to counsel's office. And, you know, we're going to continue to do that because I just think that the application of these type of laws to those type of folks is illogical. I don't think it's what the legislature meant. And I'd be happy to consider changes to those laws that were sent to me by the legislature. Instead, all we've gotten from the legislature are ways to make New Jersey's gun laws more unreasonable rather than less. Phil?
I already mentioned that there's no need for evacuations yet. I know it's hard to predict individual responses on the part of people. During Irene, a lot of people fled the shore. During Sandy, in advance, not so much. What do you think the mindset of the public would be now?
Well, first off, I think we were pretty successful with Sandy. I mean, you know, the fact is that we had very few deaths with the second worst natural disaster in American history. Compare that to what happened with Katrina and the volume of deaths that occurred in New Orleans compared to what happened at the Jersey Shore. You know, we got, you know, over 1 million people evacuated from the New Jersey Shore during Sandy. So I disagree a bit with the premise of your question. I would say that people understand that I'm not an alarmist. and that if I order an evacuation, it's because I have hard evidence that leads me to conclude that them staying where they are puts them at great danger to their life and their health. And that's the basis by which I'll make those decisions. It's the way I've always made them. Now, Irene took a turn, and we didn't have nearly as bad a situation at the Jersey Shore with Irene as we would have. And I know that there were some people, unfortunately, who were skeptical during Sandy, a few, and they either got barely out with their lives or some of them didn't get out. So, you know, what I'd say to folks in the public is, you know, I don't think I have a problem in the state anymore being taken seriously on issues like this. So I think they know I know what I'm talking about and I know what I'm doing, and I've been through this before. And I don't remember what number emergency declaration this is for me, but many more than I ever thought I'd have to sign. So we know what we're doing here. Yep.
Governor, you mentioned the stress and fear that people will have, especially going through Irene, going through Hurricane Sandy, just coming out of all of the planning that the Tri-State region has done due to Pope Francis. Does that put us at any advantage with the emergency operations, anything that's packed and ready to go, being ahead, that being last weekend versus this weekend?
Yeah, probably not. Probably not. It's two different types of problems, right? We weren't worried about evacuating people. We weren't worrying about sheltering people during Pope Francis. I mean, our OEM and the state police and Office of Homeland Security and preparedness are always working on these things. So I don't think the Pope Francis visit probably puts us in any better stead, but the good news is it doesn't put in any worse stead either. You know, so people are working hard, and I think this is a much different situation, though, because what we'll be focusing on is, do we need to evacuate? How do we shelter? And all the rest of that, and then how do you get people returned? And we don't know what we'll be dealing with. You know, remember, you know, in Irene, we had very little concern about debris removal. In Sandy, debris removal was the first thing we had to worry about, just to give people access to their property again. So all of this depends upon severity of storm and what happens, but I don't think the Pope Francis thing probably helps us. Probably doesn't hurt us either.
What are you doing at the stage now that you learned that you didn't have to do the first time, say, Sandy or Irene?
Well, it's hard to give you any one particular thing. What I tell you is that, you know, you're just more prepared, right? So there are some things that happened during Irene and Sandy, and I can't, as I'm standing up here, tell you specifically what, but there were some things that you just didn't anticipate, all right? So, for instance, I can give you one. In Sandy, we didn't really anticipate not having any gas stations operational. And what do? And that the gas station situation was twofold. Some, they had gas but no power to pump the gas, and some where they had power but no gas. And all the refineries were closed down, and how do we get gasoline to the refineries? And ultimately we worked with the federal government to get that done. Now, you know, in my head, I have a checklist of things. And the folks who were on the call last night, that I ran last night, could tell you that, you know, I could unfortunately now do this off the top of my head in terms of going through and asking them questions about, well, what about in health? What about this? In human services, what about this? In DEP, are we doing this? And Bob Martin and I, where's Bob? There he is. You know, Bob Martin and I could go through this thing, you know, without barely even speaking to each other, you know, about reservoirs and, you know, the rivers and wastewater plants and wastewater treatment plants, water plants. You know, we've been through this before. So I think it's more just on our part, myself, the Lieutenant Governor, and some of the senior members of the Cabinet, the fact that once you've been through this, you never quite forget it. And that's why I've urged the other newer members of the Cabinet to consult with their colleagues, their predecessors. And I think that'll be a useful tool as well in terms of just getting everybody refreshed on it. But I can't think of, other than the gas stations, anything specific. I'm sure there were, but I have a pretty good checklist in my head now about how to deal with this stuff.
I've been speaking to two different groups at the shore. Some were panicked, some residents, because they've been so devastated by Sandy. And others who, fortunately, got out pretty unscathed and feel good. But for those who are so uncertain about how to feel because of the uncertainty of the storm and are looking to you for guidance, what would your message be about how they should feel about this?
I'd say be prepared, but don't panic. Now, it's easy for me to say, okay? But the fact is, that's the only advice you can give somebody like this. I understand, because I lived with this for all the time afterwards, and you'll recall, you know, every day I was out with the public after Sandy. and saw the emotional reactions of people. And so that's why I mentioned it off the top, is that I understand there are people who are going to be panicked. What I tell them is to be assured by two sets of experiences. First, their own, that as awful as it was, they're still here, and they're still standing, and they survived. Damaged, yes. Traumatized by the experience, of course, but they're here. And they've learned something in the same way his question, implies that, I've learned something and we've learned something from doing this. So have they. So they're not coming into this for the first time. Second thing to assure them is that I'm better and I'm more ready. And I was pretty ready the last time. This time, after what we went through with Sandy, we're not only ready for the storm to come, but we're also much more ready for the aftermath than we ever could have been before, having gone through it. So that should give them some measure of assurance that the governor is not going to forget something. The governor is not going to forget them and not understand how important it is for me to be present and to be working and to be understanding of those concerns and try to make sure they get the kind of help that they need. So I'd ask all of them just to take any of the nervous energy they have, use it to get ready.
So, Governor, is there a plan to ensure that there won't be a gas shortage if we do get impacted?
Well, again, it depends on, we're much better off now because we have a lot more gas stations that have generators, and we use some of the money from Sandy to be able to do that. But if there were a large-scale loss of power across the entire state like there was in Sandy, the bigger problem became the refineries stopped operating. And the state highways were impassable to be able to deliver gas, right? So some things you can prepare for and some things just are unavoidable. And the way we got around it the last time was the federal government, the Department of Defense, brought in fuel. And the National Guard distributed that fuel to gas stations that were operational. So we're prepared if that happens, but it doesn't mean there won't be an interruption. It depends, again, on the severity of the storm. Now, Sandy, let's remember, was the second worst natural disaster in American history. We are preparing for the worst, but I'm not standing up here today saying that, Joaquin is going to be Sandy. We have absolutely no way of knowing that at this point. It's a Category 3 out there now. We don't know what it's going to be at landfall, and we don't know where it's going to land. So there's a lot of ifs still in this. But we're much better prepared for the worst than we could have ever been before, having gone through it, and we're very hopeful that we won't get anywhere near that in this storm. So I'm not here to tell people Sandy 2 is coming. I have no way of knowing that. But what I want people to know is that if it did, we're as prepared as you could be to deal with it.
Is there any anticipation of spills, sewage, or refineries?
Well, we never had a problem with spills from the refineries before. And, in terms of sewage, well, if all the wastewater treatment plants in the state go down, then we got a problem. And that's what happened in Sandy. And then we were dumping raw sewage into the Passaic River. That's not optimal. But it beats the alternative of where you're going to go with that sewage. So, again, we've done some things to harden assets and to make them stronger and tougher in the time since then. There are more things going on that will make them even stronger going forward. But do we have any expectation of that? No. But could it happen? Sure, because we've seen it happen before. But I have no expectation of that at the moment. Remember, that was a severe and profound loss of power throughout the entire state for an extended period of time. I hope that that's not what we deal with this time. You can be guaranteed that the president of the BPU hopes that's not what we're dealing with, because then he'll be, hearing from me every 15 minutes. Yeah, Claude?
Two quick things. One, you said cancel all your public campaign events. Are you canceling private events as well?
Yeah, I have one event tonight in Boston that I'm going to tonight, but I'm flying there and flying back tonight. But there were no other private events planned, and the public events that were planned have all been canceled.
And just to follow up, has the fleece been ready, and is it ready to go?
It's interesting. Mary Pat brought that up last night when I got off the 10 o'clock call. She goes, by the way, where the hell's that fleece? I haven't seen it in a while. I believe it's in my closet, but I have to tell you, Claude, I haven't eyeballed that baby in a while. So when I get home from Boston tonight, that's one of the things I'll be looking for. But I didn't look for it last night. Charlie?
With giving your statements about the art and the nonsensical nature of the laws that got those folks in trouble, will you now support a federal law that would require all states to recognize permits from other states?
No. No, I still oppose it. And I oppose it because I believe in federalism. I believe states should have the right to make these determinations on their own. Now, the fact is that there are ways that we're looking at this now, maybe to try to deal with this inside the state. And as you know, I put together a task force a number of months ago that are working on looking at the various laws that we have in the state and ways that we might be able to make it more sensible than it is now. But I don't want the federal government involved in every aspect of a state's ability to make determinations on how they should be governing themselves. And so my opposition to that has always been a philosophical opposition. That's a slippery slope. You let the federal government get into that, next thing you know, the federal government will be trying to run the whole health care system. Oh, wait a second, they are doing that already. I mean, you never know what they're going to try to do next. So it's a philosophical opposition on my part.
As a federal prosecutor, you went and prosecuted a Ohio gun dealer who was supplying guns that made their way out the streets of New Jersey.
Yeah.
Federal law that might have prevented that from happening. If there were
I don't understand what you're saying.
background check laws that, or more stringent laws that were similar to, say, what we have here in New Jersey, if that was replicated nationally, that may not have happened.
No, they just would have violated different federal laws than the ones they violated. Criminals violate laws, Charlie. And that gun dealer was knowingly violating the law by knowingly selling to straw purchasers. That was already a violation of the law. Wouldn't have mattered. Wouldn't have mattered at all. He already knew he was violating the law. He was violating the law to make money. That's why I prosecuted him. And those guns wound up killing people on the streets of New Jersey. That always has been a federal law, a federal, criminal violation. During the time that I was U.S. Attorney, and I would aggressively prosecute those cases. And if I ever became U.S. Attorney again, I'd aggressively prosecute him again. It's the right thing to do. Yeah.
So, have you spoken to the president yet about Roseburg and
No.
how popular the handshake and standing was among Republicans?
Yeah.
Concerned about your need.
Let me ask you a question. Have you ever seen me for a second, ever hear me say anything publicly, privately, or anywhere, backing away for a moment from what I did to welcome the president here on October 30th of 2000 or October 31st, 2012? Ever? No. So it's a ridiculous question. I mean, I haven't called the president because I don't need to call the president yet. I don't call the president, just go, hey, so what do you think? The President of the United States is busy with a number of different things, and I have respect for the office. But I know this much. If I feel the need to call the President of the United States, I can. And I believe he'll take the call. And so, because it's both of our jobs to do our job. And if anybody should learn anything about me from the experience during Sandy, 8 days before a presidential race for a guy that I was the biggest surrogate for in the country, I'll do my job first. That's why I'm not going to New Hampshire tomorrow. And that's why I wouldn't change a thing that I did in 2012 regarding my interaction with the president. And I've been pretty firm on that from the minute I did it. And there will always be people in my party who won't like it, but they've never been governor, so they don't understand what it means to have to be here and do this job. And I'm going to do it. Anything else? Yes, madam.
Does the state know at this point how much related understanding what percentage?
You can check with Gore. I don't know the numbers off the top of my head, but go to Gore and they'll be able to give you those numbers.
How do you suspect an outsider
Come on. Next. Yes.
There was a bill in the legislature that would require generators at gas stations. I don't think that's made it to your desk. But
No, we had a bill that came to my desk that I believe I signed that that gave them funding to be able to make themselves adaptable to generators. I don't remember whether the bill requiring generators ever got to my desk or not, or maybe I might have vetoed it because I thought it was ridiculous because small gas stations shouldn't have to be required to buy a generator. Every gas station, in my view, I hope I didn't sign it because it doesn't sound like something that I would sign. Listen, you can't prepare for every contingency, and you don't want to put the burden, in my view, on the private sector to have to do that. So we've made money available for generators, generator adaptability, which is really the biggest problem. It was not a lack of generators. It was that you didn't have the adaptability at the gas station to be able to plug the generator in, because it's not just, a regular plug into the wall, to run the pumps. So I know that we've done things to help for adaptability there and given Sandy money, government money, to gas stations to be able to prepare for that adaptability. So our problem was not that we didn't have enough generators. We had plenty of generators. The problem, because we brought them in from other states, National Guard brought them in from other states, the federal government airlifted generators to us. So we had plenty of generators, but many, if not most of the gas stations couldn't use them because they didn't have the adaptability. We thought that was the much better way to go, rather than to require them to buy a generator, which was going to be very expensive, which we could supply them if we needed to via the government in the case of an emergency, which, if that's what happens this time, we'll definitely do that. And we know that we can go not only to the National Guard in New Jersey and in the area, but also to surrounding states and ultimately to DOD, all of which supply generators to us to help. We use those mostly in the human services and health areas to keep people who were the most vulnerable of our citizens to be able to do dialysis, to be able to do the kind of medical treatment that we needed to do. But we can supply them to gas stations if they're ready for them. But I wouldn't have been in favor of it. I'm pretty sure, hope I didn't sign one that required them to buy generators. I don't think I did. All right, so you've all been through this drill before, and maybe not all of you, but some of you have, at least. Although, come to think of it, there are only a few familiar faces here from 3 years ago in Sandy. So you know the way this works. We'll be talking to you frequently. I'll be talking to you frequently. And we'll continue to keep you apprised of what's going on in terms of our plans and preparedness and in terms of the track of the storm in conjunction with the National Weather Service. When they give that information, we'll be able to also tell you what it means for us in terms of evacuations, Phil, or any of the other decisions that we might have to make. So we'll keep in touch with you. I hope we don't get to spend nearly as much quality time together as we did 3 years ago at the Rock in West Trenton, even though it's a wonderful place, Colonel. If for a windowless building, it's fabulous. So I hope we don't get to spend as much time there together as we did 3 years ago. Not only for our sakes, but for the sakes of the people of the state. So, again, to the people of the state, go to the website, print out your checklist, do the things you need to do, get ready, especially our 4 counties, Cape May, Atlantic, Salem, Cumberland. Let's get attentive to that now, today. Get yourselves ready. We'll keep in touch with you, your local and county elected officials, to let them know exactly what needs to be done. And as I said in response to your question, don't panic. Be prepared, but don't panic. We're ready. We'll be ready to deal with whatever comes. We'll keep an eye on the storm, but get ready for what's coming, tonight and tomorrow in those 4 southern counties, because that's well before Joaquin and something that's could have a significant impact from a moderate to major flooding situation. So let's be ready to deal with that. Thank you all for coming. We'll
The worst of the hurricane danger may be letting up in areas like this, but the problem they're running into, they're already soaked here with a lot more rain on the way.
We've seen what Hurricane Joaquin has already done as it lashed the Bahamas, but where is it headed next? The storm's path has confounded the National Hurricane Center, but it now appears to be moving away from the United States. Good news, but another storm is brewing over the U.S., and there are still significant flooding dangers.
We were going to have a rain event regardless. We're estimated anywhere from 4 to 12 inches of rain. It'll depend on how fast it rains, where it rains, and the effect that it has in the area, whether the flooding will occur.
We know there's going to be flash flooding, and flash flooding occurs very quickly, rapidly, and normally just overcomes an intersection or a low-lying parking lot area where people, if they're in that intersection or in that parking lot, could get overwhelmed.
And while it looks like the worst of the hurricane will be offshore, Joaquin could make the flooding even worse. Already a major sinkhole in South Carolina swallowed a car. In New Jersey, they've been trying to reinforce beach areas that were hit by Hurricane Sandy just 3 years ago. Governor Christie taking a break from the presidential campaign trail to prepare for the storm.
There are going to be winds up to 75 to 85 miles an hour in the southern part of the state, in addition to the rain, which we expect to be 5 to 6 inches. Those are nor'easter type conditions, and everyone needs to be prepared for that.
Now, certainly some of these low-lying coastal areas are breathing a sigh of relief because Joaquin's track continues to head to the east, but they could still face some significant flooding. In Alexandria, Virginia, I'm Doug Luzader, Fox News.
Rain over the past few days has flooded basements, clogged streets, and caused headaches. So fears of more scenes like these from Virginia over the weekend have prompted the organizers of some Washington area events to scramble their plans.
Down at the 7-yard line.
I'm kind of glad they changed it because it's a good night for a high school game. We moved up here from Florida a long time ago. We're used to hurricanes and rain. It's fine. It's just rain.
Here in Leesburg, the rain may come, but the show, or at least the game, must go on. Students from Herndon and Tuscarora competed in this high school football game tonight, though it was scheduled for Friday. This and several other high school football. Rain over the past few days has flooded basements, clogged streets, and caused headaches. So fears of more scenes like these from Virginia over the weekend have prompted the organizers of some Washington area events to scramble their plans.
Down at the 7-yard line.
I'm kind of glad they changed it because it's
the victims and the families. I know it's a very trying time for them. Also, we want to make sure that we
okay, now we're going to go to the Oregon Mercy presser.
Also out at UCC. You know, many of our employees actually were trained and educated out at UCC and taking care of our patients. Also, there's been a lot of outpouring of support that we've had from our other local hospitals here in Oregon as well as throughout the country. But I think probably even just as important is the team that took care of the patients that came yesterday. I got to tell you that the Mercy team of nurses, doctors, clinicians, support staff was absolutely phenomenal. You know, on an annual basis, we take care of 50,000 people in our emergency department. We see many, many traumas throughout the year. I can assure you our team was ready. They were prepared. There was compassion. There was caring. There was professionalism. For all of us here in Roseburg, we couldn't be more proud of the hospital team that we had. We also had 10 people that came to us at the hospital. Dr. Jason Grays, our Chief Medical Officer, is going to give you a little bit of update on those patients that were here.
Jason Gray, Chief Medical Officer and anesthesiologist. So yesterday we received 10 victims from the UCC shooting. Of those, 3 were transferred quickly to a higher level of care. 2 were treated and released. 4 underwent operative intervention here. Of those, 1 has already been discharged, and 1 will likely be discharged today. And there was 1 that was deceased in the emergency room at arrival. The 3 that remain are expected to recover well, and at this point remain in stable critical condition.
And it's a small town. How do you train for a mass casualty incident like this?
You know, we have community-wide training events for this exact situation as part of the Oregon trauma system, or a level 3 trauma system, and we integrate with the level 2 and the level 1 trauma hospitals throughout the state.
Can you give us any indication on who these victims are? Young, old, male, female, anything like that?
You know, they're mixed, male and female at this point, of varying ages.
And we do so to honor the privacy for the patients, so that's all we're going to provide for you today.
What was the age span?
You know, the age span I would say was on the younger side.
Doctor, if you could say again, there were 10 patients admitted here, and just explain that again that you just went over.
Sure. We received 10 patients from the UCC. Of those, 3 were transferred to a higher level of care for services which we don't have available. 2 of them were treated and released from the emergency room. 4 of them required operating room procedures. 1 patient was deceased in the emergency room. Of the 4 that underwent surgical intervention, 1 was discharged yesterday. 1 will likely be discharged today. And the remaining 2, 1 is in critical condition and 1 is in stable condition at this point.
Can you say what type of injuries?
You know, all of the injuries were gunshot wounds to abdomen, thorax, head, extremities at this point.
Can you explain that there's a disparity between the sheriff's office saying there were 7 people wounded and you're saying that there were 10 people admitted?
I cannot explain that. I know we received 10 patients in total. That's the information that I can vouch for.
Talk about the challenges dealing with when you have so many people coming all at once. How do you respond?
You know, from a medical standpoint, we're trained for this. Obviously, it's an overwhelming situation, but we practice it. The outpouring of the community and the outpouring of our staff coming in on their days off, retired physicians coming in, nurses coming in, staff coming in. One of the challenges, honestly, is coordinating support for the friends, the family of the victims, and coordinating information. It's been very difficult.
Dr. Gray, we've heard time and time again that everyone knows somebody who's been impacted by this shooting. Has this personally impacted you as well?
I have staff members who have been impacted, and I know at this point we do not know all of the names of the victims.
But for you personally, this is your town, to see this happen here, and just trying to, how do you cope with helping these people and dealing with the emotion of this at the same time?
You know, that's been one of our biggest challenges, is supporting not only the patients, the families, but our own caregivers, as Kelly mentioned. Yesterday was a challenging day. The days and the weeks to come will be the most challenging, and how do we continue to support our staff, the family, the victims here?
Are you saying you don't know all the victims' names even as you guys have been taking care of them?
We do not know all the victims' names that are out there at the college.
Can you update, or do you know the condition of the victims up at Peace Health in Springfield at all? You've been in contact with them?
I have not been in contact with them this morning.
Okay, but you said they were the more severe, more life-threatening injuries?
The patients were transferred to Peace Health that required services which we don't have available, typically neurosurgery.
The 1% that's deceased, is it in addition to the 10 that were announced yesterday, or?
You know, I cannot vouch for those
we don't know
numbers.
if that's one of the 10 or not. We don't know that.
But again, all 4 here that were admitted here are expected to survive and do well. One's already out, the other one leaving today.
Correct.
In your background, doctor, have you seen something of this nature before?
In a small community like this is the first time I've seen it. In larger facilities, it really shows up.
Work out there with our students. You know, obviously we don't know who the victims are at this time, but I will assure you every single person here at the hospital in our community will be impacted by somebody out at UCC.
When can we expect another update on victims, or at least the conditions of the victims you have here?
Once we know an update on the 3 people that are still here, I'm sure we'll send out a press release on that. For the victims out at the college, that's something you'll need to work with the sheriff's office on.
Dr. Gray, we understand that the shooter was also treated here. Can you talk about his treatment?
We do not believe the shooter was treated here.
Okay.
Kelly, what can the community do to help you?
You know, I think this is a time of trying to pray as much as we can and to be peaceful and to be supportive of each other. The other thing that the community can do, we are going to have a blood drive later today at our community center, and that'll be at noon. So if people want to participate in that, that would be really helpful. But I also think just spending time with friends and family to support them as we walk through this. We know it's going to be a long process of grieving as well as support. So that's what we're going to need from everybody here in Roseburg.
But you have also other people who were in shock and have to be admitted or hospitalized or seen like we are.
Sorry?
People who are in shock, not necessarily the injured people, but relatives who like collapse.
None of those were admitted, but obviously a lot of emotional and a lot of pastoral support for those.
So and our mental health professionals, are available, for people here also, whether you're employees or whether it's other people in the community. So I think the mental health providers are going to be available. So that's what we want to coordinate also with the community.
You're saying definitively the shooter was not treated here, correct? I want to make sure I understand.
To the best of our knowledge, the shooter was not treated here.
Thank you. That's very good.
Good, man.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Support for the community. Thank you.
Okay, and as a bonus, we will be showing you just a little preview of what is to come at 6:30. This is the shooter's apartment complex. This is coming up at 6:30, but you guys are seeing a little sneak peek here.
But when she was riding with the mother, she had mentioned how depressed her son, they were talking about all different things, and she had mentioned her son had been pretty depressed for quite a while. And then they met later, and she was introduced to him at their house, and the mother mentioned how he just stays on his computer behind his closed door in his room all the time.
Right, that is your tease for later for 6:30. We will be seeing much more of that apartment complex and hear from some of the neighbors of the shooter. And it's coming up on 5 o'clock. We appreciate everybody watching this stream on this Friday afternoon. And we're going to be hearing more about the victims because their names were released today. And I can tell you, I'm just going to read off right now, not their names, but their ages. And we're dealing with a 19-year-old, an 18-year-old victim, a 59-year-old victim, 18 years old, 33 years old, 67 years old, who also was the teacher in the classroom, 44 years old, 20 years old, and then lastly, 18 years old. Just a tragedy in Oregon. We, of course, will be having a dedicated show at 6:30 on the very latest updates, including the names, and as we go on, we're going to be hearing more of the stories from those victims. So join me at 6:30. Love to have you. We'll be doing the live stream from 6:30 to 9, but now it is time for you guys to turn over, if you're local, to Fox 10 right now to see the very latest our team has been putting together all day for you. So we encourage you to watch it, and if you're not local, just go on fox10phoenix.com. You could watch the live stream there. We appreciate you. We'll see you at 6:30. See you guys in a little bit.